And we are live. First off, everybody, welcome. Uh, Jknoc with Poe.
How's it going, everybody?
So I apologize for missing the last show. I wasn't feeling too well. I should have posted it up on social medias. That was my fault. But we're back, feeling better. We're back. We got a lot to talk about. First off, how you doing, man? How you doing, Poe?
I'm doing all right. How you doing? That's the question.
I'm better. I'm better, man.
Okay,
I'm
good.
better.
That's good.
Uh, Yeah, man, that what do you call it? That it just messed me up, man. But I'm doing all right. I'll be a lot better. I'm gonna go to the doctor soon, get some antibiotics.
Okay.
Um, but getting into it. First, we had well, I've been kind of out of it. So, what do you have anything other than the main topic that we're gonna get into?
Well, no, it's basically the topics, that we're gonna get into. That's it. I could talk about other things, but I can add on as we're talking.
Well, we had a fight Friday. We had a fight Friday.
Yeah,
Betabev and Volnik. Did you watch that? Did you watch that fight at all?
I caught some of it,
I was kind of watching
and
it. I was doing some other things. I had it on. I was watching up and down, but I was doing other things. Uh,
I had to catch up with the parts that I didn't see because I was like, Dad, I forgot about this fight.
the
I'm always looking for fights on Saturday, big fights.
yeah
Then I
yeah
feel like, hold up, it's Friday, it's a fight.
yeah yeah because we got Fridays on like on cable TV and stuff, and there's some on
Yeah,
Saturdays too, but Fridays on that. So Betabev and uh, Volnik, Volnik, um, fought for the light heavyweight title, WBC, I think IBF or one of them. Uh,
yeah, IBF and WBC,
yeah, and
both on
and
that
and
belt.
the Lenio, which I mean that's just a word that's
Yeah,
thrown around. I don't, me personally, I understand the meaning behind it personally. I do. Um, but
I don't like. I know the meaning behind the wording and stuff, but it's not a physical title that you could say, all right, I won this.
that that and it's not it's not like you have all the belts. To me,
Yeah,
to me, I understand the meaning and the word and everything behind it, but to me personally, I don't think you can be the lineal champion until you have all the belts.
exactly.
That's just me. I don't care if you're beating the dude that was the dude that beat the dude. Like I don't care. When you have all the
Yeah,
belts, to me, that's the lineal champion. I think that if you don't have all the belts, that lineal champion means nothing.
exactly.
It means nothing. That's just my opinion. My opinion totally. It was a very good fight, very competitive. Um, Up until the ending of the fight,
Yeah, the
um,
stoppage.
which good stoppage, good stoppage. Um, it was a good ref. I don't know the ref's name, but that was a good refereeing of a fight because he told him and he did what he said. he
Yeah.
got he got knocked down twice, and when he was getting up on the second one, he said, "One more, you're done. One more, you're done. It's not gonna. It's over." And it happened, and it was over. Some people might say it's one too many. I thought it was just right. I thought it was okay. Um, but that
Yeah,
goes in.
and
It goes
the
inside what we're gonna
championship
get into. But go ahead.
yeah, but in a championship fight, you pose it, the referee discretion at some point, and if it's not like he's like not taking like head, but he's just like tired or
Uh, kind of you're cutting out. Let me see if I can change the. All right, go ahead. Talk if you're there. If you hear me. Bo, you there? If you're talking, man, we can't hear you. Nothing. His connection is not good. Um, but it with that with carrying on to what he was saying from what I was hearing from it. Uh, it was in a championship fight, given that reasonable doubt. Uh, he wasn't taking a lot of damage. I think uh, what's his name? Vondix or whatever his name is.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. God
Uh,
was dick.
he wasn't taking a like it wasn't like he was taking a ton of punishment. I think he was more tired than anything. Um, but that kind of I'm not going to lead into it, but that kind of is something that we're going to talk about, which is a major topic. Um, and in the championship fights, like I was saying, I think that yeah, you're right. It's you go, you give them the chance, you give them the benefit of the doubt because they're both champions. Even if it was just one champion and the other one's a challenger, even so, if it was, you give them that benefit of the doubt. But on the other hand, you also have to protect fighters,
Yeah,
and the referees don't know what's happened in their training. So I think the referees should be even more so vigilant. Not only the referees should be more vigilant, but the commission should be a lot more vigilant. Now, um, I would love to see that fight again. Before we segue into the major topic, I would love to see that fight again. I don't think that was like a super decisive fight for Beterbiev, where it was like, oh, he doesn't deserve a rematch. I think he deserves another rematch.
yeah, I do too.
I think they should run that one back, um, and have a grudge match at that point, and to see, he Beterbiev beat Kovalev in the amateurs, I believe, and he beat uh, uh, Volnik in the amateurs also. So it's not like
Yeah,
he's
they said there's some. They were saying there's some bad blood between Kovalev
yeah.
and Bellaby.
Yeah, which I don't see. I don't see Kovalev even getting out of the Kovalev. I mean the Kovalev fight. Kovalev fighting Kovalev. No, the Kovalev fight getting Kovalev getting out of the Canelo. I don't think he's gonna win that fight. Honestly,
Me neither.
I just don't see him winning that fight. He does have a puncher's chance, but I think even though they're different fighters, Canelo and Andre Ward, um, but Canelo is more Ward than he is anything else.
Yeah,
And Ward, in my humble and personal opinion, Ward had Kovalev's number.
agree. I totally agree.
He's not a Kovalev is not a boxer. He's more of a slugger, more of a get you out of there quicker than anything else. Um, and I think boxers almost have a field day. High elite boxers will have a field day with the Kovalev.
Yeah,
Every
because his last fight he was having a hard time.
hmm
He just warmed down.
Yeah, you're talking about a yard.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's I think that was more of a lack of preparation on Yard's end. Not Yard
yes,
himself,
exactly.
not Yard himself, because I feel he kind of put everything, and a lot of boxers do put everything in the hands of the trainers to get them prepared.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't understand that not sparring. I sparred.
now see, okay, see, let's, but before we get into that, I feel that there's some interesting fights in light heavyweight, especially with Canelo being in the mix. We talked about that
Yeah,
the last show, with on what's his name, Chad Dawson, getting
yeah,
propped up again, and then we still have Jean Pascal.
yes,
We have the new two-time champ Beterbiev, Beterbiev, however you want to say it. Um, and then we also have Vosek. He's still in there. I think his first name is Alexander also. Alexander Volsek. Uh, he's still in the runnings. I don't think that loss is damaging him as much per se.
no, no, not at all.
It was a good fight. I think they should run it back. Uh, and then you have the introduction of Canelo. Um, I was reading some things about what the plans are with Canelo, and it seems to be he's going to do a light heavyweight campaign. And
I don't see this the thing that's bugging me out. It's like Canelo is doing a Kovalev,
what do you mean?
even though Kovalev is fighting these boxers. It's like Canelo is avoiding somebody that's gonna really give him a hard time, even though he's stepping up to another weight class.
Yeah.
What about all these guys in your weight class, your real weight class that you didn't,
Mm-hmm.
take the titles from?
Mm-hmm. And see he's see they're throwing away they're throwing not throwing away but they're throwing around this legacy. Canelo's doing stuff for his legacy now. That's the narrative that they're using with Canelo.
Yeah,
And
it sounds good in
right,
theory,
and
but
it sounds good from the outside, but
yeah,
when you start digging into the okay, what was his weight class? I'm not saying what I know his weight class, but I'm just saying when you start digging in and asking these questions of, yo, what was Canelo's weight class? Who didn't he fight?
yeah,
Who didn't he
that's
give
that's gonna
opportunity
always
to?
be an asterisk.
Do you know those things are
But
always going to be there for him? Yeah, he's stepping up. Yeah, he fought a ton of names, and all of them except one came out in his favor. The one, I mean, I don't know. Who can beat that one?
yeah,
Meaning Floyd Mayweather. If anybody doesn't know,
yeah,
who can beat that one? You know what I'm saying? That's a hard one to have on there. But all the other people, it's like, well, there was that to me, I think Canelo lost that Laura fight, Elislandi Lara.
yeah,
I think he lost that fight. Who am I to who am I? I'm not no fish nothing, but the way I seen it, I seen him getting outboxed. He was getting outworked. Yeah, Elislandi Lara was on his back foot, but that's his style. That's
exactly.
Laura's style. He's more of an amateur fighter than anything else. Yeah, he's a pro, but he's that amateur style because he's a Cuban fighter, and that's that style that he has. It's points. It's not devastating knockouts. They're point fighters. They're boxers,
Exactly.
and that's what they are. That's that Cuban lineage for the most part. There's some outliers.
Yeah,
There's some outliers, but for the most part, they're boxers, and they're um, based off that point system. Um, which hands down to me, honestly, Cuban fighters are some of the best fighters.
I agree.
Cuban
A lot of
fighters.
people like, they don't agree with that, but I do.
I 100% agree. I think Cuban fighters are possibly one of the top talent pools. Just if you're looking at the purists and the pugilists and the actual like purists of the sport, Cuban fighters have like the most sound. Now there's others. I'm not going to say there's not others, but Cubans have the most sound fundamentals across the board when it comes to if you're going to rank a fighter based off of their skills and whatnot. Not uh, public image. I'm talking about skills alone. Cuban fighters are like, to me, in my opinion, are like some of the top. That's just my opinion. Do they get the push? We've had this conversation offline. I don't. They don't because there's a lot of factors in
No.
there that I believe. You disagree? That's fine. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but let's get into this major topic, man. Do you have anything else on the? Oh, wait a minute. We have an announcement um, where we have December 7th on the undercard of Joshua and Ruiz, um, Alexander Povetkin versus Hunter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's been confirmed. I've been reading. I kind of glanced at it, kind of brushed over it before the show, um, and that's the talks. That's the Povetkin versus Hunter on the undercard. Which do you think they're trying to reset the Povetkin rematch with
Yeah.
with Joshua?
Yeah, I definitely do.
I
They
think
just
so.
trying to, I guess they trying to make his name be out there again. He might even
Or or
fight Usyk.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Or Usyk, and then from Usyk or from whoever the winner of that will go to Joshua and see. I think they're banking on Joshua winning.
Yeah.
I think they're banking on Joshua winning. But did you see? Do you see Andy Ruiz now?
Yeah, he basically what we said. I don't in a way I don't like it. He looks too thin, like he's gonna like he taking something from himself unless he's gonna because he got time to put some muscle with that, a little muscle. Not big muscle, but a little muscle to that. He looks
See,
thin.
see, yeah. I mean, he's not no like statuesque fighter right now, but he looks damn good from where he was.
Yeah.
From where he was, he looks damn good. Uh, um, and I think that kind of suits him though. And the reason why I say that is because he's more of a volume puncher and a mover. He's more of a boxer than
Yeah.
anything else. He's a volume boxer. And he has that he'll sit in the pocket and box and slug with you. He shouldn't. He shouldn't because not saying his chin
Mm,
is weak, but he has more of a tendency to go down.
yeah.
He doesn't have a super granite chin like others
And
do.
my thing is, you cannot take any chances when Eddie Hearns holds the cards. It's
Right.
like
Or or
everything is
or or
beneficial
Del
to him.
or De La Hoya.
Mm,
Or De La. That's the way I feel. I feel the same way about how you feel about Eddie Hearns. I feel the same way about De La Hoya.
yeah, because
Um.
the fight is based on where they wanted to fight at,
Mhm. Mhm. And see,
and they
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, and they fighting in Saudi Arabia, and the money and everything is coming off of Eddie Hearns and the Saudi people
Well,
putting the
it's
money up.
right. And who got that? It wasn't AJ. I mean, it wasn't Andy Ruiz's people. It's
No, it
Eddie
was
Hearns.
Eddie
So
Hearns. So
so there might be some bias and there might be some corruption. There might be some
yeah,
there might be some
we got to
things.
beat them decisive.
Yeah, there might be some things. Uh, so with that being said, with all
Oh,
that
it was
being,
one more fight we didn't talk about. The
what's
140-pound eliminator,
for who?
Ritson and Davies.
Oh, yes, yes. I missed that one, but I did see. I was looking at recaps because I was trying to, you know, getting back to
Yeah.
getting back to everything. I didn't see that fight, man. I didn't see it. I didn't watch it.
Yo, it was a good. It was a lot of action. That was action packed fight.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Uh, what's his next move?
I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but I know because they said whoever 140, they won them.
See,
Yeah,
and
they won
okay,
whoever.
and then hold up, there was somebody else too. Fitch, what was it? Uh, somebody called out Crawford, not no, not Crawford. Spence.
I
Somebody called.
know Spence got the DUI charges on him, but we knew that was gonna come
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Uh, oh man, I'm gonna ruin this guy's name, man. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna ruin this guy's name. Uh, Ku Kubratillo, Kubratillo. Oh man, it's a Russian name, last name. Uh, Abdukov, Karokov, or something like that. He beat
Yeah,
he beat it's AbdukakhoRov. I have a horrible time with Russian names.
yeah.
Horrible time. Polish and Russian, nah, not so much Polish names, but Russian names. And like in that area, Ukraine and all that stuff, I kind of have trouble with some of their names. Um,
What weight class was it?
Welter.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He fought he fought Luis Collazo. I know you know
Oh,
Collazo.
I see Colazzo, and I didn't even pay attention to you. I was like, Colazzo still fighting?
Yeah, he beat Collazo. Um, which from what Raphael saying, could be named a mandatory challenger for Spence.
I don't see how that's gonna work. There's too many names out there for Spence to fight.
Yeah, but he dominated Collazo. But Collazo's a kind of older guy, so I don't know. You know.
Yeah. See, these the fights. 'Cause when they say a person could fight Spence, how about letting that guy fight Terrence Crawford? They always putting all these fights for Spence. Let's see how Terrence Crawford, go against these guys.
Which I don't understand because Spence is a PBC fighter, and with the dealing with them talking just simply talk politics. Spence is a PBC fighter, and ESPN is reporting this, right? Dan Raffles
Yeah,
is reporting this, and ESPN has a deal with Top Rank. So
exactly.
wouldn't you try to, I don't know, like, well, in the past, like HBO fighters were pushed on HBO, and they're matched up with each other. Like there was a that politicking. You know what I'm saying? It was very rare we seen cross, other than the Pacquiao fight, other than the Tyson Lewis fight. There hasn't been a lot of it. Uh, uh, People crossing the road with their their own people that they're stations they're signed with.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of them, not that I can remember.
Every once in a blue moon, they
Yeah.
come to agreement to fight
Hmm.
somebody.
And it's always a hassle too. It's a headache. I understand why they don't want to
Yeah.
do it, but like I don't know.
It's about control.
To
It's
me,
about control.
I think they need to start taking that out of boxing. I think commissions more need to more step in on things, and so Vosnik, Bedbev should do rematch. I see Canelo beating what's it
Kovalev.
Kovalev. Kovalev. Um, I think Jean Pascal and Chad Dawson should fight. I think Jean Pascal actually has a belt, a WBO. I think.
Yeah, he has a belt.
I think Chad Dawson should fight uh, Jean Pascal, and if Chad Dawson gets past Jean Pascal, he should get into the mix with these other guys. Now, could these other guys could could Chad Dawson get these other guys? I don't know.
Good, good question.
I
But
don't know.
his body is rest up. He
Yeah,
looked good.
yeah. I don't know. I love Chad Dawson. I like the guy. I like to me, he was the next he was the next big thing. He was the next big light heavyweight because I like the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
He was the next big thing other than uh, Roy Jones to me, and then that got derailed by poor mistakes.
Tough.
Poor nah. Well, I mean
Yeah, poor mistakes, but tough.
no poor. No, I'm saying not. Well, it got I'm not talking about Jones because Jones had we know that like the stupid moves that
Yeah.
they did in his career. But I'm talking about Chad Dawson's getting derailed
Oh
by
yeah.
um, Superman, um,
Yeah.
Adonis Stevenson. So there's some big things coming in light heavyweight. But I mean, boxing it's very exciting right now. Very exciting times
Yeah,
right
it
now.
is.
There's a lot of things. It's not just one division. There's a lot of things going on in different divisions. Then we have Charlo coming up fight, and I would have to see. I would have to go back and see his opponent, but it's not looking like he's. It's. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for his opponent. I see him winning, but it's definitely there's a definitely a challenge with that Charlo fight.
Yeah, they need these fights to prove, because a lot of people always saying that the Chargers don't afford anybody, which I disagree. But
Yeah,
they need these fights.
I think a lot of people avoid him, the Charlos.
Yeah, they definitely do.
But perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about. Charlo has stepped one of the Charlo brothers. Can't remember which one. It might be both of them. Can't remember which one. But one of the Charlo brothers, at least one of them, is going to step up and pay for or help pay for Patrick Day's funeral.
Now, there's something I wanted to talk about.
Right.
Why does he have to pay for someone like? Why isn't the Zone or Eddie Hearns paying for his funeral?
Was he
Eddie Hearns crying
was
crocodile tears and everything.
was he signed? Was he signed with Matchroom?
Yeah, that's something I didn't really pay attention. But they're doing the most talking about what happened. They talking about they said Eddie Hearns crying and everything. You crying and everything. Why can't you put any money towards him? Yeah, that made no sense to me because Eddie Hearns having all these interviews telling about Patrick Day and stuff, but no money put toward his funeral or his family. Maybe might right now he might feel some type of way that he's looking bad. He might start put money towards the to the family.
Right.
Because everybody talking about he was a good person to be around, you know. the energy he put brings to a room, and
Yo,
that's great.
what a bad thing is, man. It's like there's a lot of losers in that. Not only do we lose a young man, a bright young man. You know, he was coming up. He young, 27. Uh, I'm not much older. You know,
Mm,
I'm gonna be 36 soon. Uh, I'm not much older, but he had a bright future. Family loves him. A lot of things going for him. I don't know if he had kids or whatever, but everybody loved this guy.
yeah,
And
and he could
every
have chose anything besides boxing because he has a college
yeah,
degree.
yeah. And you know, it's a loss for him because he lost his life. It's a loss for his family and his friends that were in his life, and they were a part, and he was a part of all their lives. Not only that, but a boxing community. The guys, every interview that I seen with them was he was a just a like a joy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like he brightened like I don't know him personally, and I'm not saying that I did, but from what I've seen and how I see him, uh, and how I seen him in the interviews and stuff like that, like he was like he walk into a room and brighten it up. If that kind of makes sense. And it does. I'm not trying
yeah,
to sound cheesy or anything, but that's just like how how I seen it.
yeah. He made me feel good because it made me think more about when I was boxing. He loved the sport. He loved what he was doing.
Yeah, and
I'm like,
it's a loss now. And there's another loss. There's another loss. Conwell. What that does
oh
to Charles Conwell. Look what it did to Nigel Benn.
yeah,
Look what it did to all these fighters that been a part of. Okay, Lou DiBella was Day's promoter.
yeah. See, yeah, yeah. I'll forget that. But yeah, that's crazy because Lou DiBella didn't put no money toward him.
Yeah, see,
I'm like,
and
yo,
and we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but
We
we don't know
don't.
the inner workings. We can't jump to that conclusion and say, "Oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do that." Now, here's a statement from Lou DiBella. I didn't get it personally. I'm just reading it off of CNN. He says as of Sunday, Patrick is and we know he's passed. This was October 14th. This is what the state. I haven't. He might have released more statements, but this is a statement that Lou DiBella said on the evening of Sunday. As of Sunday evening, Patrick is still in a coma caused by injuries and and he is in extreme critical condition. On behalf of Patrick's team, we appreciate the outpour of support, prayers, and others for and offers of assistance from all corners of the boxing community. DeBella says.
Mm.
Now, how come he didn't say anything about like how come he didn't mention he's we appreciate the help, but we got it.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the biggest things he was saying.
I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just saying like that would have been a perfect time. This statement alone would have been a perfect time for him to come out and say something like that. Not saying that DeBella hasn't. I haven't seen anything about DeBella saying anything about it. Lou DeBella saying anything about it. To me, he seemed like I don't know. I don't know the guy personally, but to see he seemed to be like a solid promoter and like all about his fighters.
Yeah, from what I see, but
Yeah,
that statement should have been like more so that he's saying yeah, we gonna make sure his family's taken care of, but he hasn't put that out there. He's supposed to because perception.
right? And
People gonna
not
their
not saying that he
perception.
didn't, not saying that he didn't, but
Yeah, not saying that it did.
but he could have. I'm just saying that I'm just looking at this one right here, and this is on the 14th. We're on the 21st now, I believe, or the 20th. So that was 6 days ago. He might have said something since then. I would have to look, but um, it shouldn't be on Eddie Hearns. It should be on Lou DiBella. Uh,
I
and it
always thought like, cause the card is a DAZN card.
right.
I always feel that if I'm coming in your house, you're responsible for me.
Yeah, yes, but no. They other than you fighting on the card, other than you filling the card that I'm putting on, other than that, there's no other business ties. Now he can if he has the compassion, he should have went to the zone. He should have Eddie Hearn should have went to the zone and himself and came up with something.
Exactly. Because
Not saying
it's
that
not like they don't have the money.
I'm not saying that he didn't, but
Yeah.
it should be a known thing.
Yes.
It should be in a pub. Not saying that they need to go out of their way to make it some big spectacle, but it should be a known thing to where people are not even. It shouldn't even be a doubt in people's minds. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Um, it's a loss, man, and
It is.
my heart and everything goes out to not only Patrick Day and his family and his friends, everybody that was in his life and he was in their lives. If he had any children, I don't know. Um, my heart and my prayers goes out to him, man, and not only him but Charles Conwell, man, because
Yeah.
because nobody wants that. I don't think even when you have a fighter like Deontay Wilder talking about, oh, I want a body on my record, I highly doubt that. I can't speak for the man, but I highly doubt that he actually wants any fighter wants to actually kill somebody.
No,
You know,
I
can
don't.
it happen? Yes. Has it happened? Yes. And here's a stat. I think I sent it to you. 13 to 14 boxers die a year from boxing related injuries. And this is ever since they started reporting the deaths and everything from 1947, I believe, till now.
Yeah.
And there has been five deaths this year, 4 to 5, I think 4 to 5 deaths this year, and there's been 9 total cases of boxing injuries.
And they try to hide it, and they really don't. They don't talk about it.
And
If
there's
you're not
rumblings,
digging, you won't see it.
and there's rumblings, and there's rumblings of getting boxing banned.
Yeah, they always say that. And this the thing I have to say about the weight classes
That's that,
when it
that's
comes.
that's what I that's yo I've been saying this.
It's not the heavyweights.
No, 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 no. No. What I've been saying, go ahead and say what you're gonna say. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not the heavyweights that you when you go through the history, because I got a list of all the history of injuries sustained that ended in death. It's not the heavyweights. It's the lighter weight classes, and them trying to lose weight to get to a certain stage like Roy Jones. That's why Roy Jones fell out that easy when Torres got him. He
Mhm.
drained himself. He didn't give his body time to
He
hydrate comfortably.
he should have it should have took a year at least.
Yes.
At least. And ever since then, Roy Jones was never the same.
Nope.
You can chalk that up to him aging, but I don't think it was that.
No, I don't either.
I don't think it was that because if you look at him during that fight, I think he, if I remember correct, I think he looked real like, and it's a known thing. Boxers look super sucked up, and they don't understand what it does to them. And I
Yeah.
want you to talk on that. What does that? What does me draining myself? Now, granted, we're not doctors, but what is from what you sent me some things. What does that? What does it do for me? If I'm dropping crazy amount of weight in a short period of time, what does that do to me?
When you lose all that weight like that, this is one thing that happens. Your brain shrinks a little. So now the cushion that was keeping, because if your brain closer to your skull with all the cushion, it's compact.
Yeah,
But now your brain and everything and the fluid and stuff,
yeah,
now
you
you got
lose
it shakes around.
fluid as you as you
Yeah.
as you're draining yourself and dehydrating yourself. Um,
And then you're trying to put that fluid back in you. You it's like basically your body going to grab it real fast and everything swells up. You busting um cells and stuff trying to rush it in your system.
well,
You
well,
gotta let your body slowly get it.
well, not just that though. But I like I said, I'm no doctor, but um, that like to rehydrate yourself, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's an overnight thing. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, you can hydrate yourself to make you know kind of look normal, but your body does not recover that quick
Properly.
and,
I
and
know
proper.
for from me doing it.
I know
I used
I
to
know from me doing it with other
yeah,
with sports. Not just no, I didn't do it because I didn't get to the point where I was competing.
yeah.
Um, but I done it for other sports, and it's a bad habit, especially in high school, especially with wrestling. Not so much other sports, but wrestling. That kill like
Yeah.
that it creates bad habits,
Yeah.
and I think
Cause when
there should be more regulations. I think there should be more oversight over these things.
exactly. Cause when I was boxing, when I first started boxing, I was like 250. I came in the gym 250. Could have been a little bigger. But I started losing my weight, running, losing it. So then I was getting down to heavyweight in the amateurs, which is 190, 195, right in between there. And they kept saying, "No, you 5'11, you should go down to 178." So now I'm straining my body to get down to 178. And people look at me like, "Yo, you can almost see your bones.
Mhm.
Why are you doing this?"
Mhm.
So
And
when I did do it, I'm all, the guy that I'm fighting, knocking me all over the ring. And I'm like, what the heck?
mhm.
I could punch, but
Because
I'm
you're killing
punching.
yourself. You're draining
Yeah.
you're literally draining and killing yourself,
Yes.
and you don't even know it, and you don't even realize it because these things are not being told to you.
And it should be educated to people. People should be educated on these things.
Now, who does this lie on? Who does this fall on? Whose head does this fall on?
Trainers, trainers, and the governing bodies.
I
They used to do it, but you remember when they used to have like I think a 3 weeks check on you don't have to strain to get it. They stopped doing that. I don't hear about that.
I think I think it's not. See, okay, there's going to be a lot of biases in the your as your in your camp because there's going to be a lot of corners cut. Everybody doesn't have access to the proper the proper trainers and conditioning coaches and strength coaches, the people that are educated in these things. And I think it falls more so on the governing bodies, and I'm not talking about the WBC, I'm not IBF, IBO, and all these things. I'm talking about
Yeah,
the state governing bodies. I feel I don't think they should be with them 24/7, but I think there should be a doctor, not just not just once or twice, maybe four times. I think the doctor should be there through the whole thing. I'm not 24/7 watching everything you do. I'm just saying there should be a doctor that pops his head in like a lot of times in training camp and also tracks you. And I think that for you to get licensed, I think that should be a mandatory thing. I think
yeah. Just like
that
when they do the VADA test, and they
right,
should do the same thing with the weight.
they should do the same thing, the same standards with Vada and USADA and all the other ones, all the other ones, where they just pop up randomly, check you out, you know, make sure you're not cutting too fast and cutting too much. I think they should reevaluate the rule. I think right now it's 15%. I don't think it should be 15% that you can cut. I think it should be a lot less. I think that would clean up boxing a lot more too. I I feel I personally feel that it would stop a lot of injuries because these guys I think are only getting injured simply to do by weight train
Yeah,
and what that brings. Now here's a question that I asked somebody else. And I want to pose it to you. So we all know what happened to the great Muhammad Ali.
yeah,
And the same thing has happened to Freddie Roach. Not him passing or anything, but the Parkinson's. And we know that has to do with brain lacerations, I believe. Lesions in the brain, I believe. I think that's MS and Parkinson's, I think. I could be wrong, could be wrong. But do you think a factor of that, what happened to Ali, was a major factor of two things? The two major fights that he had in the Philippines and in Africa of the heat exhaustion that happened, and it wasn't simply just because of the 15 rounds. It was everything that they didn't drink water, they spit it out, they didn't hydrate themselves properly. These things, right? We all know that. But do you think that was
yeah.
a
Definitely,
cause?
is that?
You break.
Yeah, I think it. Excuse me. I think it definitely was because of the heat exhaustion. Because if you pay attention to it, Joe Frazier was he get punched more in the head than Ali ever got punched in the head.
Right, and the other factor is he fought some. I'm talking to strictly Ali. He fought some heavy punchers, Schaefer, Foreman, Norton, Frazier, uh, 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 the guy from England, Conlon, I think his name was, guy from England.
Yeah,
There was some heavy punchers, some big punchers, some killer punchers. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
that didn't help any. But do you think the not? I'm not just talking about the rounds, but the heat exhaustion and the dehydration
I think it's more with the
from the
hydration.
environments. I think that was more so the environments and not and the environment and them not drinking water like they should have been between rounds.
Yeah. 'Cause a lot of boxers they don't want to drink a lot of water between rounds, but it was so hot there
But even
that they should have been
but
drinking
back
water.
then, they were always say, "Here, get some water in your mouth, spit it out." They never said, "Hey, take a drink of water," like actually drink some water.
Yeah,
They never said that in the fights back then. Up until more modern days, that's when you start seeing fighters do that.
Yeah, because back in the days, because from hearing stories in the gym and stuff,
Yeah, that was
and
frowned
talking to
upon.
people that would think, yeah, and people that was in camp with Ali and stuff. My trainer, he used to go to Ali camp,
Hmm.
and he
Deer
said
Point or something like that.
drinking water. What'd you say?
It was like Deer Point or something like that. Something
Yeah,
the out in the woods that he was. I can't remember what it was.
yeah,
But
and he said a lot of boxers didn't want to drink water between rounds because they feel they was gonna cramp up.
hmm
And he had me doing that actually. I was like, nah, I want no water. I'm doing good in the fight. But to
right,
me,
because
that was the worst thing I ever did.
because you hear these things. You hear these things, and it's
Yeah,
like you're like, oh, I don't want that. That sounds horrible. I don't want that. That's gonna make me lose, and it's bad education.
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And the advancements of science and advancements of medical and all this, we know differently now. And I still think that there's a lot of bad tendencies in boxing, not just boxing, in combat sports.
Yeah,
See, and there was a post that you did, and somebody posted everybody should use 10-ounce gloves. I don't think it's the gloves.
gloves ain't gonna make no difference because I had 16-ounce gloves on, and I was sparring somebody. I was sparring Ray Mercer. Joker's still getting knocked out.
I don't listen.
You still getting hurt.
Listen. I don't think it's the gloves because okay, and this is why I say it's not. I don't think it's the gloves. I could be wrong. Could be completely off base here. But I don't think it's the gloves because if you look at MMA, they're wearing what little 4-ounce gloves,
Yeah,
right? Tiny gloves, and there's not as many deaths or brain injuries as uh as of yet. But here's a caveat: that sport is a baby, so we don't know what could happen. But there's a lot of science in the UFC. There's a lot of, I mean, look at the UFC's facility, their
yeah.
sports facility. Now, I'm just speaking on the UFC and like even Bellator too. You're not seeing these things in the majors, in the minors, and in these little house shows and stuff like that. You see a lot more of these things because there's less oversight. But with boxing, you're seeing this in major things. You're not seeing these injuries in the amateurs. People can argue, oh, because well they took beatings over time and this is why you're not seeing it in the amateurs because they're just getting started. I don't feel that is. I feel that
No, because
there's a
this is
lot
the thing.
there's a lot more
This is the
regulations
thing. Yeah.
in the
This,
amateurs, and then there's headgear
yeah.
also.
Yeah, the thing is, you got to realize you got some boxers that had over 200 fights,
Hmm.
and if you ain't destroy, if it your body your mental is not messed up off of that, you're not having mental injuries or anything from over that lapse of time. It's not that.
Right. There's way more oversight in the amateur rankings than there is in local and regional and state small shows,
Yes.
and even some pro fighters, especially since we've been seeing what we've been seeing with the five
Yeah.
passings.
But
And
from the
go ahead.
yeah from my research that I was doing, it has a lot to do with that trying trying to lose that weight and stuff, and you're not giving your body the right way to get back together. And I'm like, why aren't they doing like like I was saying earlier? Why aren't they doing the month weigh-in? Then they start week they check and
Mm-hmm.
see how your weight is looking.
You should be checked in at least 2 to 3 times, if not three or more, during your training camp. And you
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about by somebody in your camp or somebody you hire. I'm talking about a state at the governing body, the athletic commission for said state you're trying to fight in. One of their They need to have doctors on staff, neuroscience, and people that are aware of these things, of these injuries, or trained in these things. If it's not the experts themselves, it's the people that are trained in these things, that trained by those people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, this is what my brother used to do about I was boxing. He said, pay attention to. He said, watch, pay attention to this fighter. You know, if we're watching a fight or we actually at a fight. He said, look how this guy look real dry going to the ring. He don't have no more moisture to give.
Hmm. Even if he
And
was
he
warming
said,
up.
look at the one over there that has sweat and everything. He's loosened up. He's ready to go.
And see, this is my problem. And this is my problem. I think that they need to cut. This is what I've been. This is what this is. I hate to put this in together, but to me it goes together. I think we have too many weight classes that people can fit into, and this hurts people. This kills people because if we eliminated those classes, people can stop draining themselves. And if you put heavy regulations on how much you can lose, and it's actually monitored. I'm not just talking about like little oversight. I'm talking about like you would do a VADA, or what's the other one? VADA, and
I forget the one in
I
England.
just I just I just said it earlier.
You
My
did.
mind's
You
going
said it
blank.
earlier.
USADA. There's
Yeah.
VADA and then there's USADA, which is the Olympic one. But if they had doctors or trained people, like they created a checklist and everything to, okay, to track these people, to track these fighters that are going on, because yeah, there's a lot of fights going on throughout the years, but we need to take these steps.
See, my disagreement, because like me and you, we like disagree on this because this is my disagreement on it is because, like you said, the past is different from the modern days. Boxers are more stronger than they were back in the days. They
That
don't have the stamina as they had back in the days, but they're more stronger.
right,
So
but
you put in these, like you just had these 8 weight classes. It's gonna be a lot of people dying still.
I don't think so. I don't think so,
I think
because
so.
you're not going to have people killing themselves to get to the lower weights. Either you fight
Because if you
it you fight
because the
in.
middle ground leaves you that margin. All right, you can't get to middleweight, so you could just be super middleweight, or you
Right,
could
but
be
but but
light middleweight. Stuff like that.
but hear me out here. If they have oversight, strenuous oversight, to where a separate doctor or a separate trained a medical professional is monitoring this fighter to get sanctioned for this fight. If they have that, almost pretty much following them around at random, multiple checks during their training, and all this, right? Multiple checks
Mm.
throughout the whole thing up until the fight. I think weigh-in should be day of also. Um, Doing these things, right? Make it, because it's protecting their health. Because if there's all these weight classes, there's still going to be weight draining people. People are still going to be weight draining themselves. Either they're going to do it when they're not being looked after, when they're about to be going into competing. They're going to do it before. they go into this. So they have a different baseline that the doctors are going by. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other things to determine dehydration and all that stuff that they can look at, but I'm saying they can. There's other ways they can come into it pretty drained. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
To
because
be
I know
around
like in
to
the
be around that.
amateurs, it was guys in the gym. I know when I was amateurs, it was guys in the gym. They they had to drain themselves to get at a regular weight. Like it's not as many weight classes in the amateurs
Right,
as in the pros.
but but yo, that's like fighting's just not for you. Not everybody is a fighter.
No, I wouldn't see that. I hate telling somebody
Nah,
if
see,
you can't make
see,
something, you not it's not for you.
see. I can't. I, I I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Everybody can't be president. Everybody can't be. Everybody can't be a super athlete. Everybody can't be an athlete. Everybody can't be a musician. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody can't be these things. There's people that are made for it. There's people that train to do that, to do these things. But even if you do a lot of training, it still doesn't make you an elite fighter. And that will, I think, not saying that the fighters that have passed from injuries weren't elite fighters, or they didn't have the ability to show their eliteness. But I'm saying if they take out these weight classes to where they don't, where and they limit to what they can lose, and there's strenuous oversight, it will weed out a lot of fighters. Yeah, that sucks that this person might not get to fight because he can't compete in the heavier weight classes, but that's life.
See, this is what I want to show you. I mean, talk about December 1926. Daniel Marshall, he died in the ring. They didn't have all these weight classes. Then you got August 1930, Frankie Campbell from the United
Okay,
States.
okay, but
You
but
see what I'm saying?
but there, yeah, I understand that. I understand that. But there's other factors in there. It's not just weight classes. There's a lot of factors in there because we know since we have all these weight classes, fighters kill themselves to get to a certain weight class. We
And
know
they gonna
this.
kill themselves to get to them
Nah,
no matter
nah,
what weight it
nah.
is,
If
it's gonna be a
if there's strict regulations, if there's strict regulations, and there's doctors that from the commissions, from the athletic state commissions that go into it and say if if we feel from every all these medical tests, if we feel you're not living up to these sets of standards, or you're displaying something, you're not going to compete. That sucks for boxing, but it's better for the fighter's health and the health of people. And that for forget about being a fan. It's about the health of people. Yes, I love boxing, but not everybody can compete. And when there's ways to drain yourself because you might be a taller fighter, or you might be more powerful, even being weight drained than a smaller guy, a lot of people like is there not weight bullies? Has there not been weight bullies in the history of fighting?
yeah. There's been weight bullies in the history of boxing.
I mean,
It's just not wasn't never talked about.
no, there's some. I mean, yeah, they're kind of not talk. Some people mention it, but like De La Hoya was a weight bully. Manny Pacquiao was a weight bully.
Yeah, definitely that.
Mayweather was kind of a weight bully. You know, other fighters, not so much. Canelo is a weight bully.
Yeah,
And see, he did as people might say, oh well, Canelo drained himself for the Mayweather fight. Nah, he said that himself. Canelo said, I'll fight him at 152. So Mayweather said,
yeah.
All right, it's going to be 152 then. See, I don't think these things should be on the fighter's plate for negotiations because there's weight bullies and because they don't all these people a lot of these fighters, yeah, they don't want to hurt anybody, but it's all about winning. And they'll do and a lot of these guys, especially with the PEDs, the all these drugs going around to make them stronger and this and this and this, there's cheaters. That's human
Yeah,
nature. That's human nature. And anything to find that advantage they're going to do. And that's why I said elimination of some of these weight classes and then putting strenuous regulations. Hell, and even starting uh, a sports and science like camp like the UFC has, because there's money in boxing. These guys,
yeah,
these
plenty.
these these if these promoters get their heads out of their ass, if these different promoting teams can get their heads out of their ass and they partner up with all these networks and there's a unilateral like okay with things, if people start doing business properly, then they can all pull together and make a state of the art facility in different areas like the UFC has, and the UFC is going to open up another facility, like it's like 400,000 or something crazy, 400,000 square feet or something crazy, and
Yeah,
and they
because in the Olympics they do it.
right,
'Cause
right,
different countries come together under their training
right,
facilities.
like a UN kind of thing.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? Like a Olympic campground. Now, why not or why not utilize, even though they're pros, why not utilize Olympic they're already there.
yeah,
Pay those guys a little bit more. The Olympic coaches, doctors, and so on and so forth. Now, weed out the corrupt ones and the ones that are dirty. Try to do your best to weed those out, but eliminate those things, make things more strenuous, and it will clean up boxing. That might suck for a little bit. That might suck. It might there will be some growing pains. There's going to be some growing pains where some fighters might drop out, and there might not be as many fi- uh, uh, all these fighters, but it will re-educate and train people properly, and it will weed out a lot of these bad practices that we've grown up with from other sports and even boxing or just combat sports in general. And guess what else that leads up to? If there's a like a quote unquote kind of like a UFC where there's a sanctioning body, guess what else happens? Video games, promotions, so on and so forth.
yeah.
That's what I'm
That that
that
that
that's what I'm saying.
yeah. It's a
Like
lot to think about, and
there, there,
people like
there's a lot of moving parts, man. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of things to think, like you were saying, like you just said. There's a lot of things to think about, and a lot of things to put in play. And that's all I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. I grew up on boxing. That's like, other than because I'm naturally a football player. That's what I competed in almost all my life. But boxing has always been there. Um, I played semi-pro football. I was a running back. Uh, and if I would have got my head out of my ass, I would have. I definitely could have. I had the skills to be a pro, to be a high level one at that. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I was good. Um, and that was just a gift that I had. I had this a horrible mindset at the time, and I screwed off a lot of things, like a lot of us do.
yeah,
Um, but with that said, like boxing, like I'm taking the humane route about it. Like, yeah, I'm a boxing fan, but it's bigger than boxing. It's human lives, man. Granted, we're not talking about hundreds and thousands and millions of people dying in boxing. It could be that. It could be a lot more than that we don't know. It could be injuries from boxing that's not reported, or from
Yeah,
from combat sports that are not reported. But if we're not having these discussions, and if we're not gonna kill all greed, but we can definitely try to combat as much as we can. And there has to be in all combat sports, there has to be a big reevaluation. And some things people might not like.
and
Even
that's what people scared of. Because
and
if
not
you
just
get people
not
not to,
just not just
like
combat,
something,
not just combat sports,
yeah,
but I mean, you're seeing a lot of emphasis on even sport, even other sports, other contact sports like football, and even so rugby. There's a lot of these things going on with the CTEs and these things like that. I had a family member, a well-known family member by marriage. Uh, uh, he he killed himself because of CTE.
uh,
It happened in San Diego. He played for the San Diego Chargers.
wow,
Junior Seau. You know, a lot of
yeah,
these a lot of these people, a lot of these athletes are not knowing these things. They're dealing with so much, and we might not like it as fans, but we have to step back and look at it as a humanity thing, looking out for our fellow humans. That's why I say elimination of all these different weight classes and very strenuous uh, oversight, reevaluating some of these rules and some of these how much you can lose and all these other things, because you get fighters like Canelo that what was like, wasn't it one time it was reported like he was getting like 20 to 30, almost 40 pounds ballooning up in weight.
yeah.
Didn't Gotti do that, or somebody Gotti fought?
The Gotti used to do no, not
Yeah,
Gotti.
yeah, yeah. Gotti used to do it.
Ricky, yeah, but Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton used to be a heavyweight. That's a lot of weight to be on losing.
And in the amateur, what, Ricky Hatton was a welter.
Yeah, but he used to blow up. Ricky Hatton used to walk around looking like a butterball before he fought. His walk around where he was a butterball.
Yeah, but he didn't blow up after the fight. Like, he didn't blow up back to that weight. Yeah, he gained some weight, but what do you call it? They used to gain. I remember. I think it was Gotti used to get like 40 to 50 pounds after the weigh-in. Canelo used to do the same thing, like 30, 20, 30, 40 pounds maybe, if not more.
Yeah, Ricky Hatton used to put on like 40, 50 pounds because he used to come in with the fat boy suit. They should and then take it off to let people know that he actually lost the weight.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But there has to be a lot that, like, you might not like it as a fan, but for these things to stop happening, and there's a lot of other things that go into it too. And I'm talking about like Parkinson's and other brain injuries, CTE, other things that show up much later.
Yeah, but this stuff all it all contributes to the same thing we was talking about. Draining your,
Right.
A lot of
And that's the difference.
you're not hydrating yourself properly
And that's the
between
difference.
rounds and stuff.
And that's the difference from the fights you were quoting back in the 20s and the 30s or in the 40s when you were quoting those. That's the difference. As that has nothing to do with it. But if you, what I'm saying is, and this the try follow me here. What I'm saying is, if you eliminate these weight classes and then you oversight and you put some like strict strenuous things to of that like being monitored throughout your training camp for one, and and limiting how much you can lose even more so, that will stop people from trying to drop down to these weights, uh, and it'll make them compete in more of their walk around weight, maybe 15 pounds or 20, but it has to be done right. It can't be done overnight. It has to be
Yeah,
monitored. It has to be monitored. And weigh-ins should happen the day of. Like if you think about what's a normal camp? 8 weeks, right?
yeah,
2 to 3 months. More so on the two than three.
yeah,
So
too.
so if it's 20 pounds, that's only 2 pounds a week. A little bit over 2 pounds a week. That's doable.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying? But these fighters are dropping like 30, 40, 50 pounds. Not all of them, but some of these bigger guys. It'll stop some of these bigger guys from eh, dropping down to smaller weight classes. Because I think that's what's happening. The bigger guys, the guys that are have bigger bodies, taller, more mass on them, more bone density, stuff like that. They're draining themselves, and that's what's causing injuries.
It's like they kind of too strong for the guys in the
Right,
low weight class.
right. And they're not strong enough for the guys at their quote unquote normal weight, their true weight
Yeah,
class. But that's
exactly.
but that's where actual training comes in and technique and stuff. I feel. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk from my perspective because me in boxing, to me, I think I was cruiserweight more than. And if I when I turned pro, I had to fight cruiserweight. No, I fought no, yeah, I fought cruiserweight. Then they put me in a heavyweight match with no training, so I could be, so that I could, so they think I could feel comfortable. But to me, I lacked the proper training to be a heavyweight. Even though I was sparring heavyweights, but I didn't feel comfortable at a full-fledged heavyweight. To me, I was more comfortable at a cruiserweight.
Yeah, I think that's another thing too. I think there should be height height and weight limits. Now, granted,
Yeah,
there's
because I
there's
was,
there's there's tall, slim guys. I understand that, but at that point, I think them bulking up more is not going to hinder them. Do you feel me? Does that make sense?
yeah,
Does that? I mean, am I
yeah.
am I am I thinking wrong?
No, you're not, because there's a lot of boxers out there like Trinidad. He wasn't really big. He was thin. Then he started, gaining weight to fit in certain weight classes. There's a lot of fighters out there out there like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it like you might be tall and thin, but you know, bulk up, train, get the proper training to beat some of the guys that are in that weight naturally, more so than you are because you had to bulk up, but you meet that these requirements. People might say that's too much, but I think it's like weight and height requirements. Yeah, like I said, yeah, some guys are tall and skinny and lanky, but yo, bulk up, or try to bulk up, or find a different sport. Kickboxing, Muay Thai, something else. You don't have to
Yeah.
box. You don't have to box. It sounds harsh, but
It do. It really does.
but I'm being serious. Like, cause cause a middleweight in UFC is not a middleweight in boxing. It's like it's more so a light heavyweight. I'm not UFC, but just mixed martial arts. Cause
Yeah.
a middleweight is 185 in mixed martial arts. That's light heavyweight in boxing.
Let me face somebody at 185 when I was boxing. I would have killed them. They'd have still been arguing.
You know, like
I used to sport.
that's what I'm saying. It's like there's other sports for you. You don't have to fit into that sport. You can't. It's like fitting a square peg in a round hole. Some people turn into that round peg, but some people are just square pegs. You can't do it. That's life though, man. Like
That
I'm taking out my fandom of boxing. I'm step asiding with that. I love boxing. I love it with the fullest.
that the gladiator in me is like,
Right,
nah, how you
right.
gonna
No,
tell me I can't fight?
yeah, but if there's rules and then you're killing yourself and then people around you are dying, I'm not saying like 50,000 people are dying or anything like that, but people are getting hurt. And then there's even like look at the fighters that have killed themselves to drain themselves and that dehydrated themselves. Look at the Alis. Nothing against them, but look at the Alis, look at the Frasers, look at the people that were they might have been Southern or country or whatever in their speech, but when Joe Frazier was talking when he was older, you could tell he had some damage.
Oh yeah, definitely. A
You know what I'm
lot of
saying?
fighters
Look
from
at
back in the
look
day
at
felt
look
like
at
that.
James Tony. Perfect example. James Tony, perfect example. Um, Andre, Adrian Broner. These guys, and what I mean by this is these guys that are not uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out here. That are not like I wouldn't say militant, but what's the word when it comes to training? Like oh man,
What you talking about when they going with Adrian Brown and type guys?
yeah, Adrian Broner, James Tony, where you're not what like in your training when you're eating more. I'm it's
Not disciplined.
disciplined. That's the word I'm looking for. Disciplined. Some of these guys are not disciplined, and then they kill themselves to get down to this weight, and then that's when things happen. James Tony was not
Yeah,
James Tony was not disciplined. He was up
not at
to a
all.
certain point, but after that, it all fell off. And even then, he killed himself to make middleweight, and he
Yeah,
and he was not a true heavyweight. Not saying he couldn't compete in a heavyweight in the heavyweight, but he was more of a cruiserweight than anything.
yeah.
Light heavyweight to cruiserweight, right in there, nothing more. And and that's why I feel like I feel that a lot of these weight classes should be eliminated, along with the stringent and the very very strict um, regulations of weight and all the health checks and doctors and trained professionals, even physicians assistants and stuff like that. Even if it's not the head doctors, like physician assistants, stuff like that, people that are trained by these these people, these experts. in these things that plague combat sports. And
Then people gonna talk about other sports like football. There's that people get injuries in football, and a lot of them like they're messed up for life.
right, but they're
So
but they're actively doing things. They because they're still ever since the NFL concussion thing, that one, Dr. Alawali, I think his name was, the Nigerian doctor, when he went to the NFL and was talking about uh, concussions and stuff. Ever since that,
yeah,
they've been actively changing rules, and it's a continuous process. That's not happening in any other sport. It's not happening in boxing. I can tell you that. It's happening in,
no,
in, in mixed martial arts. Yes, because the UFC has institutes, and that they, even though they do certain fighters dirty, like Chris Cyborg, where they were having her drained to 140. That's not right. And there's a documentary about her where she did when and of all the pain and everything she went through. She was killing herself, dude. She can barely walk to the stage to get weighed in.
the
When she was walking off stage, grabbing the bottle of Gatorade, Powerade, or whatever, Pedialyte, whatever it was, to rehydrate herself, she was shaking it, going up to her mouth.
the
She had to get she People were helping her to get to the elevator to go down, and then they started to help her get out, and then when she got going, kind of like an elderly person, where they help them, somebody stands by them to help them get up and help start taking a couple steps until they get the the momentum going. That's what they did to her.
yeah. I know it was back in the days. They used to actually put IVs in people
Mhm.
from the weight loss.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, I forgot about that because somebody was
May,
telling me like, yo,
May,
you remember when
Mayweather used to
they
do
used to give
IVs.
IVs?
Mayweather
Yeah,
used to do IVs.
yeah, the
Him I know
Floyd
off the
back
top of
in
my
their
head
body.
because that was up until recent times. He was getting
Yeah,
IVs. I think he got an IV at the Manny Pacquiao fight.
yeah. Ali did it, and it's a couple of fights. I'm just not thinking about it right now.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, they had IVs to rehydrate.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, forget about your gladiator side. What about your health?
Mm-hmm.
What about your health? What about the health of others? Knowing what you know and what knowing the science that it is now, or in the science that you don't know, would you still continue to do the things that they did in the past and that you did in the past? Knowing if you knew the consequences.
That see, the gladiator part always gonna be like, well, that's part of boxing.
But
That's
it's not
everybody always
it's
gonna
not
say.
it's not a part of boxing. It's not. You're making it a
But that's
part.
what boxers
But
had a mindset like,
but the boxers making that, and the trainers, and the lack of education in the boxers and the
yeah,
trainers are making it a part of boxing. It's not a part of boxing. There's these rules, and you're trying to you're these people that are draining themselves are trying to skate around the rules, and these rules need to be enforced. Simple as that. Strictly enforced.
yeah. Because when you come in the gym, they say you could die in the ring if you don't properly
And
train and do what you need to do.
and any
That's one of the
fighter
things everybody say.
that gets popped for performance enhancing drugs should never fight again.
And that's why I keep saying highest Dillian White fighting.
Jarrell Miller's going to be fighting soon.
Yeah. And him of all people, he had more stuff in his system.
Hmm.
And I kind of knew he was popping because he was too big. He was too muscular.
He's
I
done.
knew that,
I'm
okay,
pretty sure
how's
he's
this
done it
guy
all
not?
his entire career.
Yeah, I'm like, why is this guy not coming over? Because
I
he's
no,
too
he's not.
muscular.
He wasn't he's not muscular. He's not muscular. He has that testosterone body where he's puffy. He's
Yeah,
he's
like
bulky. He's bulky. He's
like
not.
one of them power lifters.
Yeah, he's bulky. He's puffy. He's not defined in any way. You could tell somebody that uses anabolic steroids and somebody that
Yeah,
actually works out and does things naturally.
like Holyfield was using. Because I kept saying, why is his head just enlarged like that?
I think
That's one of the things that
I
happen when you take them steroids.
I think what he called was using too, and there's been speculation about Roy Jones using, even though
I don't
he
know,
never.
because he gave all the off the all the traits that a person that takes steroids usually gives. Like they lose their hair, they get that bald spot on the top, and the puffy head and stuff.
Look at Roy Jones. If you That's why do you think he went bald? Because he had that spot. He was having hair loss. Look at his hairline. If you look at his hairline's pushed way back.
I
I
ain't paying
love
attention to that, but usually on the top, because that's why Holyfield started cutting his hair.
I
I
love
was
like I
like,
said, I love Roy Jones. But there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of speculations of him juicing too. But I think if anybody gets caught, I think they should definitely everybody should have these drug tests. I don't think they're I think I think it should be all the bodies. And what I mean all the
yeah.
bodies, the Vadas, the USADAs, the everyone that tests.
And it seemed like in England they like real laxed about their
I
testing.
I think I think all of them should test. There shouldn't be, oh well, we're going to use this one, we're going to use that one. I think because they all catch different things.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I think that along with the more strenuous weight loss and the conditioning and stuff like that, and the monitoring of how much you're losing and stuff like that, and the elimination of weight classes, I think that will clean boxing up a lot, and we'll have less injuries. I'm not saying injuries are not going to stop all in all, because you're going to have bicep tears, you're going to have concussions, because I mean you're getting hit in the head, you're getting hit in the head. Um, but as it stands right now, MMA is a lot safer than boxing.
it's because of the smaller gloves and it's
Well,
they
well,
get
it,
you
it
get more cuts than anything.
it's more infancy. Like I said, there's the UFC has only been around since what 97, 96 till
Mm.
now. So it's a baby sport, but still there's been not as many fights. If you want to take same amount of time throughout any history in boxing, there's a lot less injuries. I mean, you're going to have injuries, but life-threatening injuries is a lot less in MMA.
Agree.
Um, I mean, we can go on, and I think we should probably have a continuation of this conversation about that. But I wanted to talk about one last thing. Do you have any other things?
Yeah, this is a conversation that I was having. The hardcore and the casual conversation. We have it a lot, but people are saying that I'm too hardcore of a boxing fan, and I got to start thinking about the overall picture,
As of what?
like casual fans and all that.
But in
To
what?
me,
In what
like
aspect?
like like in boxing, like if you wanted a boxing video game, I look at it as for the hardcore fan aspect. and then it's hard for me to go beyond that aspect because we never really had a boxing sim, a boxing game that actually taught, dealt with boxing, the real mechanics of boxing. And people, I'm getting, you know,
Okay,
stop being ultra hardcore.
nah, okay, all right. So look at here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. And this is the problem. Is the people that are saying it are two things. They're casual boxing fans and they're casual gamers.
Agree. I
And
agree.
and they are biased to those facts. They're not a hardcore gamer. There's nothing wrong with casual gamers. Pick up a game
There's
and
nothing
there's not
wrong at
there's nothing
all.
wrong with that. But but if you made your if you go a casual boxing game like fight nights, the fight nights were, for the most part, were casual fighting boxing games. If you do that, you're not going to make a larger majority of the fight fans happy. And there's more fight fans than there are casual fans.
Exactly.
People say, "Oh, well, there's more casual people." Yes, there is more casual people, but who's going to drop the money on it? Now, if you had a simulation boxing game with a casual mode attached to it, a la online or career mode, or something that caters to the demographic of the casual fans. See, that's another problem. Is they're not looking at what casual fans want. They're trying to go into it what they want.
You hit it on the nose.
And when they do that, see, you can't do that with the sports game.
Not
In my
nowadays.
in my opinion, you can't do that with the sports game because you're going to get a hell of a lot of pushback. You're going to get a lot of pushback. Look what 2K has been done. Look at Madden. Look at all the negativity. Granted, people buy them every year in year out. But when more and more people are start going to uh, uh, make hell, if 2K comes out with another All Pro football and they made it like NFL 2K5, guess what's going to happen to Madden's market value?
It's
It's
going to
gonna
drop
it's gonna dry
drastically.
up fast because NBA 2K and NFL 2K5 is a better sound game than Madden is currently. What Madden might look better, but the mechanics and everything else on NFL 2K5 is way better than Madden is right now. The AI is better, the things are better. Now, granted, there's limitations because of the time it was made, but the game is a better game, and that's a overwhelming census from the NFL sports game community, right? But
Yeah,
but and then you look at the backlash of NBA 2K. You got NBA 2K. People are giving backlash to that. Now, I like NBA 2K20. I think it plays well. The mechanics are playing well. But here's the problem. The stuff that they're implementing and they're forcing upon us. That's where the problem is. And that's what you get when developers are one trying to suffice shareholders. That's one. And two, they're trying to make what they think we want.
exactly. Yo, you hit it right on the nose.
So people say, "Oh, you need to chill." Nah, you need to learn more. Whoever's saying that, they need to learn more Because I'll tell you what. No matter how a game looks, a game could look amazing, photographic, everything, look perfectly. But if it does not play well, if it does not have the modes to keep the longevity of the game will die.
Yeah,
And if you take a look at and I'm not just talking about I'm not just talking about sports. I'm just talking about games in general. If you look at their player base, their fans and their hardcore fans. Take a look at Warframe. They have a solid base. They've been going on since 2012, since the closed beta. 2013 since everything opened up. How many years is that? But then you got games like NBA 2K. Yeah, they got a base, but they lose a lot of that base every year because they keep on changing the game. They keep on taking things out. They keep on putting things in. They keep on taking things out that people loved. They
exactly.
put more microtransactions that they wanted to make money, to make their shareholders happy.
And that's another thing that I don't like when you have a lot of shareholders. It takes away from the game because you got people who want to pull out. They want to get their money now. So
Well,
now you're trying to
not just that,
compensate for that.
not just that, but they want the game made their way at that point. They want to say, nope, the game should have these many microtransactions. The game should have this mode. Oh, you're not going to put it in there? All right, I'm pulling my money. Because most people they don't go into it and the investors, oh, you're asking for a million? Okay, here's a million. Nah, they'll hit you off with 220 250 for round 1. And then round 2, they'll hit you with another 250. And then another 250 and then another 250 to reach a million as you get towards the end. And that's how venture capital works. But for somebody to think that they're gonna make a game and someone's gonna give them an investor's gonna give them here's a check for $5 million, yo, that's not gonna happen. If they're doing that, their investment's more like 25 or 20, and they're just giving you 5 million increments throughout the whole development of the game until the game comes out, because that eliminates the misappropriation of funds. See, now you're talking business. And this right
Yeah,
up my alley. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a lot of I wouldn't say you got a lot of these people, but you got a lot of people that don't know what it takes to be in business at all. Yeah, they might say, oh, I'm a businessman, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, all right, show me. I don't want to hear talk. I want to hear numbers. I want to see numbers. I want to see facts. None of these people can do that. A lot of these people that are trying to make games can't do that because I'll tell you one thing: there'll be a lot more buzz about these boxing games than there is. A lot more buzz, a lot more excitement, and a lot more marketing also.
yeah,
But
yeah. I just think
that's
that
that they're completely wrong, man. Because they're they're not looking they're looking at it subjectively and not objectively.
yeah that bothers me because people trying to take your mindset from you and try to force you to have their mindset.
Like
You,
yo,
you
like
know,
you you can like I feel me personally, I feel that you look at like we were having this like you said you disagreed with me about the weight classes and all this, right?
and that's teamwork. That's
Right.
that's how teams.
And I personally think that you're looking at it wrong. That's for me. That's for me to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong because I feel that you're wrong. Like I'm looking at it at a different point of view, and
Hmm.
I'm not coming from the bias of this is the way I want it.
Yeah, like trying to force
Right. I'm
your
I'm
idea.
I'm coming at it as yo. There's a lot of factors in it. Try to look at it at all these factors or some of these factors, and then maybe you'll see it different. But but to sit there and be like, yo, we're gonna make a casual boxing game. Nah, that ain't gonna work, champ, and it's not gonna work. Why do you
It's
think?
not.
Why do you think Fight Night died? Fight Night Champions died real quick.
Yeah. And the only reason why it did so good when they brought it back out is because fans are thirsty for a
Exactly.
boxing game.
And realistically, it didn't do super well. It did okay. It did okay, but they there was a buzz for it. But you just said it because people are thirsty for a boxing game. But now that there's talks of boxing games, expectations are there, and some of these expectations are for the fault of the people that are making it by what they're trying to make the game sound at like it's going to be, and some of it's a lack of talent, uh, a lack of ability to actually make games. There's a lot of factors in there. It's not just one, and a lack of the know-how of gaming development in general. And this plagues both sides,
Yeah.
both of the ones I know, and this is my feelings. This is what I see on it because on both sides there's a lot of people that had the buzz for it and it died and it's continuing to die because of lack of information, a lack of knowledge, a lack of everything, lack of information, lack of actual meeting deadlines and that they set, and then they want to say, "Oh, well, we felt forced." Who forced you? You guys were the ones that said it. Nobody said, "Yeah, there was questions asked," but this is your art. This is your art. You need to take control of your project. We can't dictate it. We can only say, "Hey, this is what we would like to see. This is what will get our dollars." Either they listen or they don't.
Yeah, and I hate the way EA theirs used to be, you know, me and Brizzo friends and everything, but they used to basically try, ask me for my wish list and stuff and gather wish list ideas. And to me, they was grabbing it to see what matches up with what they had.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, that wasn't being more fan friendly and actually, cause that wish list has a lot of good ideas on it. For one, they wouldn't have kept it.
See, but when you take a box game and you just strip it down, right? I'm just
Yeah,
not all the little fancy. To me, all the little features and stuff. It's just bells and whistles. Boxing is very simple. It's very simple, but yet complex. Let me explain. It's simple, and the fact that it can be easily captured if done right. That's the simpleness of it. It's complex when you start getting into different fighters' mindsets, characteristics, and
yeah,
traits,
personalities. Yeah,
personalities, traits, characteristics, how they fought, how they move. That's where it gets complicated. But for the most part, boxing is very simple.
yeah,
Yes, it's a sweet science, but that science is so defined that we should know what it is. That it should translate one to one easily. if done right, if done motion capture right, if people took the time to do the motion capture and to tweak it with with hand animations. And I'm talking about people that are experienced in it,
Yeah.
trained professionals, not no not just the hobbyist, the new people. I'm not doubting their abilities, but you'll get more out of a careered person that takes their job and their and pride in their job.
Yeah, especially not, this my thing that I always put out there. We in we're going into the year 2020, and fans expect more from companies, being that we're going into a new gaming system and we're going to another year. So why do graphics and stuff have to be so? If that's what you presented, now if you presented it as this type of game, for as the artwork and stuff, all right, fans that go for it. But if you presented it to be better than another game, you got to bring the same thing but better.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you have the people on the Hard Knock Knights side, and I have no problem calling them out because they said it, and
Yeah,
even on round for round. But I'm gonna quote the Hard Knock Knights guys is we're gonna do a better game than Fight Night. We have to do a better game than Fight Night because how when it was released. I don't see that in what I've seen.
me neither.
I don't see it. I don't. Sorry. I'm not being a hater or anything. I think you're actually subpar to Fight Night. And the round for round, I'll quote loosely, but for the most part, of them saying we're going to give a fighting game that fans want and deserve. Okay, so what does that mean?
Basically,
To
you
me,
taking the
to me,
ideas
to
that
me,
fans want.
exactly. To me, you're going to listen to everything and try to put as much as you can and have it completely tuned and super polished. And I'm not just talking about graphics. I'm talking about gameplay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
talking
the
about
gameplay.
I'm talking about the animations. I'm talking about the motion capture. I'm talking about the gameplay. And then and then and then I'm talking about graphics. Because I can play a Ready to Rumble if the mechanics are there.
Yeah,
If it's a boxing sim with just cartoon characters, okay, I can get behind that.
but that wasn't the presentation.
Right, right. The presentation and on both camps says simulation slash arcade. And simulation means it's going to be a boxing sim with an arcade feature on it, tacked onto it at the end, or somewhere around it. It's going to be
Yeah,
tacked onto it. But the main focus
but
is going to be simulation.
yeah, out the box,
Right.
and that's what 2K out the box.
Hmm. And then they do fine
And
tweaks, and then they do fine tweaks throughout the year. There's been more updates in 2K than I remember of all times. There's been major updates on Madden too. I don't have Madden per se, but I've been keeping track of it. So it's not and this is the thing. It's like if you're not explicit about what you're doing and what you're saying and what your thought pattern and your image of what the game you're making, then you leave it up to interpretation by the words that you
yeah,
say. And some people that those words mean different things.
Dad, I just got flooded with a whole lot of messages saying where are we at with Fight Night. I mean round four, and what's up with Hard Knock Nights. Dad, and
Where
that bothers me because you know being on the team, they don't realize, and I feel some type of way. The team doesn't realize that I do have a fan base. You know, people that look up to me, and they be like,
well, not
"Are
just
we
that,
on the team?"
not just that, but people want this stuff.
Yeah.
We want it for years. But here's the thing. I'm gonna speak for myself.
Mm.
I'm gonna answer that question. And I have no relationship with either, but I'm gonna call it as of today. As of today, I don't know what's going on around the backgrounds, whatever, whatever. As of today, we're nowhere with any boxing game. The reason why I say that, there's been no information about round for round. There's been no information about Hard Knock Nights. Almost 2 weeks ago, we heard that there's going to be something very soon. But what's very soon? Is it a day? Is it 2 days? Is it a week? What date? The message is not clear. Round for round, we've expected some delays. But here's a screenshot. So, okay, so if there's a screenshot, there's been work there's obviously being work done on the game. I don't want you to answer that, but this is me looking into it. This is me from the outside, and granted, you've told me nothing. I don't know anything from Adam, but if you're saying here's a screenshot, there's been some unexpected things come up. Here's a screenshot. To me, that tells me that the game is being in development, and the game has been in development, and there's been some delays of some sort, but it's currently being worked on. The question is it? I say no. And here's another thing. December, we're supposed to get a game. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things going on out there. Have they been who's developing the game? Are they developing themselves? Are they publishing the game themselves? They're developing the game, but who's publishing the game? Are they self-publishing? Are they getting a publisher that's already pre-authorized? Are they authorized with any of the consoles? They might have had some talks, some initial talks with PlayStation and Xbox, but have they went through all the full process? Because that takes time. Are they going to
Uh,
meet? Are they going to meet the details? Is there a playable version of the game? Is somebody actually controlling uh, a character with the joystick, with the controller? Is it playable on a dev kit? These are questions. These are questions that I have. And do I have a right to know? Some say no. Some say I don't. But you're trying to create buzz, and you're about to be a month away from launch, and we still haven't even seen a gameplay demo. And this goes back to what I said about the other game, round for round. We're expecting that there's been a steady line of development that's happened. Yes, there's delays that happen, but for one game, Hard Knock Nights, we were supposed to get a demo last December. Where's that playable thing at? Did you scrap it? Did you scrap all that and start from scratch? See, because there's a lot of things that I haven't even asked that I keep to myself. One being, One being is when you start a project in any engine, any of the major engines, Unreal or Unity, when you start, there's other updates that come out, new updates of that engine. You don't carry on that project in the new updated version. You have to start all over. Sometimes you can migrate it, but that's sometimes, because sometimes some of the things that you use are not authorized in the new version. They took away those features or something where something might be broken. That's why you can't, for some parts you can't migrate it to the new version of that engine that you're building in. I know this because I've worked with the engines. I've done work in the engines, and I'm currently in working of the engine. Well, one in particular, but I've dealt with both Unreal and Unity and others. But those are the things. So when you say there was an unexpected delay, is that what it is? Is that the unexpected delay where you had to rebuild in the new updated version of Unreal, or your delay was you got stuck and you didn't know how to do whatever, or you had the lack of knowledge, or you're waiting for somebody else. What are these things? Granted, some say I don't deserve to even know these things, but these are questions that fans have. I'm no less than a fan than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
I'm a potential customer too. I'm not going to make or break a game, but I feel I'm an average. I mean, some things I might try to talk myself up and be above average or whatever on certain things, and I might have certain talents in certain areas, like we all do. But I consider myself basically a everyday human being, an everyday man, everyday person. And if I feel these ways, there's others that feel these ways, and that's that's a bad thing for a company, because if they lose the confidence of me, they're gonna also lose the confidence of other people, and that could make or break a company. But that goes back to the messaging and the lack thereof messaging and not being clear with things.
Agree.
Like I'm saying, I'm not saying, hey, you need to tell us every trade secret that you're doing, every every little thing. But a customer that's informed is a smart buyer, and a buyer that's willing to buy. That's business 101. That's marketing 101. An informed customer is more likely to be a customer, not only for that transaction, but for life. But when you get these shysters in the industry, that's when you start getting these what I would call these sleazy lawyers, or the sleazy, and nothing against lawyers, but the sleazy car salesman, and nothing against car salesmen because I know some great ones. Um, but that's when you start getting these sleazy guys that will promise you the world and deliver you a steaming pile of you know what. But that's the way I feel about it. That's my answer to, is there, where are we at with these games, and that's where we're at. If you missed it, for anybody that's in here right now, where we're at as of right now, since we haven't heard anything, we're nowhere. Then the last thing I want to say is, yo, there's going to be Next year, next December, or holiday season, which could be from October to December, which most likely is going to be in November, there's going to be a new system coming out. Two new systems. Yes, they're going to be backwards compatible, but they don't even have the hardware to even test it on the game to see how it looks. And for them to say, oh, it's going to be future proof. You can't say that. You cannot say that because PlayStation can do something like they did on. I'm not saying that they will. I think it would be very stupid if they went back, but they can do something like they did on PlayStation 3, and they do with a cell style process, meaning that there is a completely different architecture of how people build the games, different from how the industry used to do it. They were trying to make a new way to do it, and that's why the PlayStation 3 when it first came out was $600 and very high priced. And that's what was now the PlayStation 3 caught up eventually, but that's why the Xbox 360 dominated because it was easier to build on. These companies might do the same thing. We don't know. We don't know what they do. All we know is there's a system coming out. We don't know the architecture. We don't know none of that stuff. There's been some leaks, yeah, but that's it. And you think some unknown, small, unheard of team is going to have access to these things? A new console? No, their teams are not big enough for them to even warrant them to give them one of these brand new Project Scarlet, Project Lockhart, Project Anaconda, or the PlayStation 5. And they're not even known. None of them are known in the industry. So why would a Microsoft or Sony take a risk with somebody unknown? Well, they'll see their dev kit on eBay selling to the highest bidder. Be more positive. I'm being positive. I'm being real.
Who said that?
BK.
Oh, what's up, BK?
I'm being positive. I'm being realistic. I'm being logical. These companies don't deal in positivity. They deal in realism. They deal in their bottom line. And the bottom line is positive in its way, but they look at the bottom dollar and they look at who they're going to invest in. Even if it's not even them not physically giving money, not physically giving them, but they're giving them a piece of hardware. And are they going to do that hardware good? Because at the end of the day, it's their property. It's their intellectual property, and they want the best that's on it to bring these people to them. But if these people are unknown, how are they going to get that? If they've never made a game at all, how are they going to get the best product possible? These are just facts. Business mind.
Yeah, because a lot of these companies they looking at fans, and this is what I always say. You're looking at us as kids, and the thing they gotta realize is grown-ups buying these sports games, so we're going to be like fans.
Yeah, kids.
Fans are the most critical of all. You know, out of most like when you playing like let's say Dragon Age or something like that, that's a different fan base. But with sports, you actually have sports fans. They're fanatics, and you can't get mad at them for getting mad at certain things that's not up to par.
and see, the younger generation of gamers are going to be playing more of these battle royales, free to play games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And because sports kind of almost not, not saying sports is dying, but there's less money in these things. There's money in them, but there's less money in it rather than like a Fortnite or Overwatch or Rainbow Six Siege, where they can build these big tournaments around them.
Mhm.
BK says I know you're being real, but all I hear is why the game will not come out or they will be no good. Well, what would you rather hear? Would you rather hear me lying to you?
Yeah,
Would
when people, this is a thing. When you pat a a developer or anybody on the back about anything they say, they're going to keep going with what you patting them on the back with. But if
but
you're not telling them what they should hear, instead of what you want them to feel comfortable with.
right, okay. See, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be logical. And BK says try to show on the reasons why it can happen. But that's not being real. That's not being real. Listen, BK, how many games have you made? How are you in the gaming industry? Have you been in the gaming industry? I'm not talking down to you or anything. I'm not I'm not getting on you. I'm just asking these questions. It might sound harsh or whatever, and I apologize, but these are just questions. And another question is, how many teams in a gaming in the gaming industry that's never made a game? How many times do you hear about a game coming out and knocking it out of the park? And especially taking no, no, and no. All right. Uh, but that's not. He wasn't answering the how many teams knock it out of the park. But um, you very rarely hear those things. And when they do, they're smaller projects. They're not big, ambitious projects how a boxing game would be. Because a boxing game is no small project, it's no small feat, especially when you're talking about having realistic graphics and having a simulation and having this feature and that feature and this and this. Like you're 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 putting too much and you don't even have the track record to show that you can do these things. So how can I give a reason? How could I give a reason why it will be good if there's no track record of why it would be good? People are hungry for a boxing game. People want a boxing game, but that's the only reason why they would buy a game is because they're starved for it. Look at the look at the look at the college football sector. Those guys in the college football that won a college football game, and the last one was NCAA 14. Those guys are still playing that game, and then some of those guys have bought Doug Flutie's Maximum Football, which the game is horrible. Yes, there was only 3 people making it, and that's a feat within itself. But it gets the it gets the simulation and the features right, but the gameplay is not there, and that's what's going to keep the game alive is the gameplay. And if you don't have that from the start, a good base from the start, you're going to lose. That's what happened with Fight Night Champions, is because the core wasn't there, and and there was not enough features in it. It felt empty. Because they focused on strictly the story mode with Andre Bishop. So it's when you think about a game Like if a Rockstar was going to come out with the game, if Rockstar announced the game, chances are it's going to be a good game. Why? Because they have the reasons, they have the track record. But with the games that are being developed, quote unquote, developed now in the boxing thing, nobody knows who they are, who's working on them, what have they worked on before, what history do they have, what or not even what show me a portfolio. It doesn't even have to. It does. They don't even have to have working for a major company. Just show me a portfolio that 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 shows that it can live up to or go beyond what was was done in the past. Because they've made claims that it's going to be better than it's going to be better than uh, Fight Night. It has to be better than Fight Night. But there's nothing being shown to prove that. Graphics will only get you so far. Gameplay, 100% is the key, as you just said. And yes, they can add features on later. He says, well, first he says, I understand a new team thing, but they are, uh, they are all we have at the moment. See, that's not good enough though. That's not to me. I don't like. I rather get behind Project Boxing than I would anything else because there's a concept. There's we've actually seen true gameplay. Granted, it was on a PC, but we've seen true gameplay, actual gameplay, energy bars and everything. People, I can almost guarantee you that there's buttons being pressed to make these people punch. It wasn't some video being recorded, some what do you call it that you click play on. What we've seen with Hard Knock Nights, that was a video, not a game, not gameplay.
CGI.
That was strictly I wouldn't say it's CGI. It's just ran. It was just ran in the Unreal Player editor. Yeah, but you can't see that's another problem. What combat? Let's see. Once again, I'm gonna go back to this. He says, but maybe they have people on the team that have worked on combat games. Okay, what combat games? Because you can't take a person from Mortal Kombat and make a boxing game. You simply can't. You're gonna have a Mortal Kombat boxing game because if that's all they've worked on, but we don't even know what they've worked on. And that goes back to proper messaging. There's no messaging at all. There's none. There's no backstory. How could we get behind Rocky if we don't know what the way Rocky's story developed? How could we get how could you get behind I don't you said no you can't. I no you can't to what? Um are you talking about to the fighting game like a Mortal Kombat style to boxing game? Is that what you're saying? No, you can't too. Um, but another thing is like the Cinderella Man. We know his story. They made a story like some people might have known it, but some people watched the movie and they found the story, and that's why I think it won awards because of the story. But see, this is the problem with both teams, and I'm not getting on just one BK. I'm not getting on if you go back. Oh, the Mortal Kombat, yeah. If you go back and you listen, I'm on both sides. I'm getting on both sides. See, here's the problem. One, we know no backstory of any of the people that are working on the game on Hard Knock Nights. We don't know anything about anybody that's working on round for round. We don't know no teams. We don't know what their history is. We don't know nothing. We've never seen any work they've done, an extensive amount of work to where you can go, yo, they got the talent. You say you do, but the public knows nothing. Tell me where they worked. Tell me what they've worked on. Where could I find where not just you telling me, where could I find where they worked on what they worked on? Where could I see their names in game credits as programmers, as animators, as anything? This should have been the message, especially coming from a no a brand new they just incorporated the company uh this year or last year. I'm sorry, 2018. He says, "Don't worry about it." No, that you're telling me, but they want me to buy a game, and they want the public to buy a game.
Me as a gamer, to me, the team should
I'm
introduce the team.
I'm gonna tell you where
Even though
I'm gonna
I
tell
might
you
get slack for it,
I'm gonna tell you where there's a flaw and where I feel that you're wrong in this, BK. You're saying I don't need to worry about it. I do, because every time there's a new game coming out, they say from let's say there's a first person shooter coming out. They'll say from the people that brought you Battlefield 5 or Battlefield whatever number, whatever the thing is, and Call of Duty have formed a new studio. So therefore you know that you're going to get a level of quality. Therefore you can buy into it. If you take a Hideo Kojima game, the guy that made Metal Gear, he made a few others, but the guy that made Metal Gear, you know you're going to get a quality game because he is a perfectionist and he has a track record of making good games. If you take Rockstar, you know that they have a track record of making good blockbuster games. But these guys, you know nothing about. I won't buy it when I see it. I won't buy it when I see it because people said the same thing about Doug Flutie's Maximum Football, I personally can't support anything just to support it. If it's not a
yeah,
good
because
if it's not a good product, I'm not throwing away my money. I've worked way too hard for what I got. I might as well I might as well just throw it out. Just give it to anybody random. He says he knows where the artist worked. Okay, you do. They've never said what they've worked on in live streams. Never. If you can tell me when, and I'm speaking about Hard Knock Nights, I can tell you I can guarantee you because I went back and look and listened to the interviews with the people from Round for Round. They've never said anything that they've worked on because they haven't worked on anything. They're game players. They've not been in the industry, and nowhere I've never seen a live stream where they said, "Oh, we have our history," and that should be on a website. You say yes, they have, but show me. Tell me what live stream. There should be some record of it. Tell me what number. I've watched it. I followed the game. I've even went back years when they first started announcing it. I went back to when they first were getting word of these things. I can tell you right now, round for round said that there was going to be a trailer back in June of 2018. That never happened. They had a team, uh, Falcon Interactive, on an interview. They said that was working on a team. This team put out a lot of games, and they have this Arizona Derby. If you look at that Falcon Interactive, and you see the quality and stuff that they put out, you'll see that they're nowhere capable of putting out a good boxing game, let alone a good sporting game. That game Arizona Derby was they used cars and stuff they didn't have license to. And if you look at the ratings on that, I don't think it ever came out on console. It came out on Steam, or it's I don't know if it came out yet, but I think there's some ratings on that. It's all horrible. I think that game did come out. They're all negative reviews on it. Are they still working on the? Is that still the same? Are they still working on the game? Because if so, I have zero
Oh,
confidence. No, I'm not talking about. I'm not. I don't need you to answer it because I mean, you,
oh,
whoever's running these companies need to come out and say these things because all we know for round is Falcon Interactive still working on the game. Are they? Because I can tell you right now, it ain't looking too good. If 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 that's who's doing the development of the game, and if you can point me to where the people that are working on Hard Knock Nights, if you can point me to where what live stream they set it on, and since you have BK, since you have relationships with it, what where go to them, ask them when they said it, because I can guarantee you they've never said that they've worked on this project, and it's not even on their website. That should be like a basic thing on their website of their accolades, because that builds confidence. That builds consumer confidence. That's business 101 is consumer confidence. Yeah, I don't, in 9 days, or do you mean in 90 days? Which one is it? 9 days or 90 days? I don't know, because I've never seen anything with 9 days. You're giving me news that something's coming out in 9 days, if that's what you're saying. And I would love to know where this information is being shared, because I can tell you the consumers know nothing about these games. They don't have a following. Where do you know about 9 days?
well, I heard Showbiz talk about his announcement coming. I never heard him actually pinpoint a day.
Yeah, I've never heard a day. I heard I heard a video saying there's going to be something really soon, but in 9 days, you say check the website. What all I see in the website is their little mission statement, game features, boxers. There's a countdown. There's a post from 2018. Where on the website? Because there's nothing. Every time I click about game, it doesn't go to another page. If I click the boxers, it doesn't go to another page. If I click development, it doesn't go to another page. So where on the website? I don't see anything where it says in 9 days we have something being announced. Where are you seeing 9 days, 11 hours, and 27 minutes? Where are you seeing that? I'm on Canadap Studios website right now. I see 66 days, 0 hours, 26 minutes, and the seconds are counting down. I don't see nothing about no 9 days. Where's that at?
Oh,
Yo, you've heard anything about 9 days?
no.
There was a video. I wouldn't even say it's a live stream. There was a video almost 2 weeks ago saying that there was something coming out very soon, but that was almost 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, PK. I don't see it.
Let me see.
I'm looking at it right now.
What does the counter got on it?
Six,
You don't see the.
I see that it says development Boxing Day 2019. 66 days, 0 hours, 26 minutes, and counting down the seconds. There's nothing else. No other counters. Where's this counter? I'm looking at canadapstudios.ca/HNL. Is there a different website?
Oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah, so it's a different website. 9 days, 16 hours, 25 minutes, 13 seconds.
See, why is there all these different websites?
Yes, HNL.GG.
See, why are these different websites? See, this is what I'm talking about. The message.
Professionalism.
The message is see, and they say there's a Kickstarter coming soon. Okay, see, this is a different website, completely different website. And what they're going to announce is that they're starting a Kickstarter. That's what the announcement's going to be. Which there's another bad message. They said that we didn't want to do that, but even that old trailer when it was talking about leap in injunction of leap extra promotions, they said that they were going to do a Kickstarter way back then. It was Kickstarter, but they said on the live stream that we didn't want to do a we didn't want to do a Kickstarter. That wasn't in the plans. But then again they contradicted themselves. See, this is why I have a problem. And see, here's another bad messaging on their part. Um, they said, and this might all sound all negative, but this is what they've done. They said sign up on their website to be a part of the founders. Now, what they're going to do, and I can almost guarantee what they're going to do is they're going to only give the founders that people that back on the Kickstarter, and that was never the message from the start. Because they never had a Kickstarter way back then when they were telling people to sign up on the website to be part of the first 5,000 tournament. See, these are the problems. And this is not me putting anything on them. This is the things that they said. And I've if you've probably seen me in the live streams too, BK, where and he, I and I can go and I can go back. I can tell you which ones to go back to see what I was saying. I said, who's the founders? Who's the first? Could we do we know where are we gonna know if we're gonna be in the first 5,000? Nobody ever said anything, but all they said was go onto the website, sign up to be a part of the first 5,000. Right. That was said. That was said during the Evo when they were at Evo doing the live stream, but ever since day one in the original horrible trailer that they did, they said that they were doing a Kickstarter then. So how could like it doesn't their messaging does not match up. What they're saying does not match up. I'm sorry. This is why things can be construed as negative, but I'm not making anything up. This is all everything they've said, they've put out. I've listened. I heard what they said. I and I asked I asked for clarification. Never got it. Never got any of that. How do we know? And I asked way back then. How do we know we're in the first 5,000? No, I'm telling you. I'm gonna tell you right now. I know nothing about. I have no relationship with any of the guys, any of the people that are behind it. If anything, I have a negative relationship with them because of the things I said. Um,
Who are you
not
talking
a
about? Round for round?
no Hard Knock Nights.
Oh.
I don't know anything about them because they're not saying anything anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mm.
They're a non-starter for me because nothing's been put out, so I don't know nothing about them. So, uh, but it's not a negative relationship on my part. I just pose the questions, ask questions on what they've said, try to get more clarity, and nobody has said anything. And I've been addressed about other things that I've said, but never when I asked what's this, what's that, when is this happening, when is that happening, who's the first 5,000. Now I can tell you he had favoritism. He said, oh, you're gonna get a copy, BK. There was like 100 people where he was gonna give out a copy, which is fine. That's cool. Do do what you will.
And
But
you know what's funny? I was like one of the first 10 people to really, as soon as he said it, I went right there and typed it in. But being that I'm on another company, he
yeah,
don't want to. He's not gonna give it to me.
but when I asked about okay, because they've always said sign up on the website to be part of the first 5,000. They never mentioned anything about a Kickstarter, about paying a fee to be a founder to be in the first 5,000. But I can tell you that's what the announcement's going to be. I can almost guarantee. I'll guarantee. I'll almost guarantee that the announcement's going to be, oh, sign up right now for to be a founder. I don't. BK. He says I don't have a relationship with them except the showbiz is the top man in my opinion. If it's rubbish, I will say. But could you honestly say the trailer was not rubbish? Because I think it was trash, and I can tell you why it was trash.
I know a lot of people in the industry was laughing too that I personally know.
Because I mean, in the day and age that we have right now, see that's a problem. See that's a problem. I don't have a problem with like given a select few, like he said, oh, there's 100 that he picked. That's cool. That's fine. But I signed up just I signed up a long time ago. I've got
But
one.
that ain't how he said it. That's not how he announced it. That he's gonna pick 100. He said
No,
the
the
first.
first 5,000. He said the first 5,000. He said that first there was 100 people that were going to guarantee get the game. Guarantee get the game. No questions asked. BK, Farmer, King Juice was just to name a few. Just name a few. Uh, but there has been no emails. I got one email last year, or beginning of this year. I'm sorry, beginning of this year. I think it was in January, where they said that there were. I think it was either beginning of this year or last year. There's only been one email that ever went out, and they've always said sign up to be a part of the first 5,000. I signed up. I asked, "Yo, who's the first 5,000? Is there a list? Where's that list? Could we know?" Never got an answer. But I can guarantee you that now that they have this website that's different from their website, and there's no links to this website on their website, the founders are only going to be people that pay money with the Kickstarter, and that was never the message. BK says in response, BK says, I was expecting far more from the trailer, but it was simply not ready. But whose fault is that? They found it ready enough to put out, and if you look at all recent comments, they got trashed for it on online sports or whatever, the SGO Sports Gaming Online, I think it was. Some of those could be trolls. I'm no troll.
I'm not no troll. I want a best game out of any company that my company or not. I mean, the company I'm a part of or not. I'm gonna say it's good or not.
See, and here's the problem. And what we're not going to get the first 5,000 in 9 days. We're not going to. It'll be a shock. It'll be a shocker if we do, but that's going to that's going to create a problem with the Kickstarter, because people are going to say, "Well, I'm backing it. How come I'm not a founder?" Because that's how the thing works. When a game announces, let's take Warframe for instance. This is gonna be the last. Oh, there's one more thing I want to touch on real quick too. But let's take Warframe for instance. Back in 2012, there was a founder pack being sold on their website, on Warframe's website. It was a founder pack. There was three editions, and you got special things that you can't get anymore. And you can't go back and get these things. You can't go in game and get these things. You can't. It's impossible. If you didn't put the money up for it, you're not a founder. I made the mistake of, I was like, oh, I'll pay for it later. I'll pay for it later, and I lost out. Those things never came back around. They never will come back around, because it'll alienate the people that put the money on Kickstarter, and the people that are investing in the money on Kickstarter will feel a certain way, and they're saying, "Oh, well, I'm not a first 5,000 and I put money on it." Why are these guys getting first 5,000? And see, that's how investments work. And that's how the industry works. Now, if they're trying to do something else, they're going to alienate a lot of people, and they're going to upset a lot of people. They've already upset a lot of people with the trailer that they put out, and a lot of consumers are upset with the lack of information from round to round,
Yeah.
and they're losing consumer confidence. I've already lost confidence in both. I'm still following it. For one, I'm a gamer. For two, I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing games. And for three, I want to be proven wrong at the end of the day, because I want to come back on a live stream or in a video, whatever, and say I was wrong. The game is amazing. But when you use terminology, it will blend the the latest gameplay features and time tested of competitive fighting games, the time tested theme of competitive fighting games. How is that going to be a boxing game? And you say you're going to have a simulation arcade boxing video game? To me, the time tested theme of competitive fighting games is Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter,
No, you
uh,
can't call boxing a fighting game.
uh, um, Samurai Showdown, King of the Fighters. There's a lot of more other ones too. But that's when you say time tested fighting games, competitive fighting games, that's what you're talking about. Boxing has never been a competitive fighting game, ever. Yes, they've had tournaments, but they've never been a competitive fighting game. You can't mix those two. You can't blend that time tested theme with a simulated boxing game, because the gameplay is slower, it's longer, the format is not is not a fighting game unless you're gonna do unless you're gonna do shorter rounds like that format. If they're trying to build a tournament around it, that format is not gonna work with 12 3-bit rounds. It's just I don't see it working. Could be wrong. I want to be wrong. He says I can't say that. What can I say? What can I say, BK? But the last thing I want to touch on is the the Tyson Fury and what he said. He's getting paid 15 million, 12 million euros or pounds, which equals to 15 million dollars US dollars to fight in the the WWE or W
Yep.
yeah.
But this is my thing. How big is this contract for ESPN and Bob Arum?
I would have to go back and look.
It's like 100 or something million, I think.
Yeah, 100 something million. I can't remember how many fights, but there was a number. I think there was a number of fights that was sprayed on there. Um, and see, here's another thing. What a lot of people are not talking about with that is what what uh with what station is it going to be on. I know Deontay Wilder said he's a free agent, but he still has loyalty to Showtime and Fox, because his next fight's going to
Yeah,
be on
but
Fox.
they still let him have a free range of movie what he fight on.
Yeah. BK says Hard Knock Nights will be at Evo in Japan February. We'll see. I don't think it might they might be there. They might be there. But there's not going to be there's not enough buzz in the game about the game. There's a ton of people that don't even know about it. A ton of gamers, sports people that don't even know about it. A ton. In this day and age, to do a gauge of how known a game will be or how good a product is going to be, they do test, or they go by marketing test, which they don't have the backing for that. They might have a couple $1,000. They can do it with a couple $1,000. They have marketing test, and they have a social media presence, a big social media presence, and the game simply doesn't have that. You can say, oh well, Showbiz has a YouTube with 20,000 people on it. All of those are not going to equate to game players because there's a rule of numbers. You're I say probably less than 5% are going to equate to people buying the game. And the poor messaging, the poor messaging, the broken promises, the missed dates, people remember all these things. And they can be at Evo, but there's not going to be a, a player base for them to hold a tournament. Hell, Rainbow Six Siege didn't start tournaments until maybe a year ago. And they're a big company with major dollars behind them. They didn't have a tournament when they first came out. Their tournament came out year two, a little bit after year two with Rainbow Six Siege. They bombed when they first came out, but they had the money and everything to back it and to continue the development of the game and fixing the things that and they listened to the what the fans were saying. They couldn't get everything in it, but they listened to them and they did their best and they came back year two and they had a really popular game but they're backed by a major company in Ubisoft. They're the problem is the problem is with Hard Knock Knights, and I can see round for round doing the same thing, following the same suit. Is they're making the common mistake of first time developers, first time companies, where they're doing everything feature rich. They're getting into a feature problem. And if you follow the gaming industry, what do you call it has that problem? And that Star Citizen. Star Citizen just turned 7 years old and they still never put out a game. They still don't even have a base game. They have an alpha out 7 years, and they've had money problems, uh, and they're poor management, and there's no official date for the games to come out. And it's been 7 years, and they've raised over $100 million, and he's a he's been in the industry since 1983. Chris Roberts. So I follow the industry. I've been in the industry, man. I've been burned in the industry by companies promising and showing a certain game, Destiny, Division One, just to name a few currently, in most recent times. So I went a little bit too long. Got on my little soapbox. Uh, that's how I feel. That's what I'm seeing. I'm only going by I'm going by what they've shown, what they've done, what they've said, the lack of what they said, the lack of what they've put out when they said they were going to put out, um, and when they miss these things, it lowers consumer confidence. And consumer confidence is especially with a no name team, somebody that nobody knows about. They haven't worked on. I mean, they have no credits. They haven't even showed us a proof of concept of actual gameplay. So there's no credibility there, especially when they're constantly missing dates and and it's not just one or two. It's multiples on many's on many's on many's. Same thing with round for round. Same thing for round for round. Dude, they went out the gate and they said all these things, all these promises. The only reason at first that I was like I have more confidence in them is because I seen more. I seen more at the time. Uh, um, uh, for instance, the player models. But more and more that I'm looking into things and like things ain't adding up to me on their end also. So I can only go by at the end of the day I can only go by what's being put out or the lack thereof. And being the lack of things being put out and then you're trying to get backing, especially for Hard Knock Nights now, trying to they're starting a Kickstarter. Like I don't know, it doesn't scream readiness to me. You're doing a Kickstarter 2 months out. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. Concept art, uh, um, a what's the word I'm looking for? A proof of concept, meaning a like a nondescript gameplay where like that no players, it's just the fake dummies fighting each other. That's I said at the time I had more confidence because I seen more. I seen more, meaning I seen more things from them to give me that more confidence as a consumer. I didn't say I have more confidence in them. I said at the time I had more confidence, but that has dissipated along with a lot of other people. But what was I saying? Yeah, like if they showed proof of concepts and stuff like that, like even a nondescript just showing a game being worked on, I feel that they're kind of doing things backwards. That's how I feel. That feelings. That's my feeling. They're doing things backwards. Like they're they made a trailer and they're 2 months out from the say they're releasing. and like there's it they said they were going to release something last year. Like there's just too many misses there. BK says, let me see, how could I have more confidence in round for round when they said they needed the money for equipment such as motion? Uh, um, did they say that?
I don't remember hearing that.
When did they say that?
What do you say they need money for what?
They need money. They need more money for equipment such as motion capture.
Never seen that.
I never seen that. You're with the team. Have you ever seen it? Have you?
Nope. The one, even if they did, they wouldn't say that out in public.
I never seen that.
Nope.
But the reason why I don't have I have my
And
confidence.
not and now for one, I heard they don't need money for motion capture. That's nothing. Mm-mm.
Well, the thing that I say is the reason why I lost confidence. The reason why I had confidence. I'm gonna say it again just to clarify myself. I had confidence. He said yes they did. Where? You're saying yes they did, but just tell us where. Tell me
Yeah,
where.
I'm
I
trying to
I
put.
I want to know because I've seen their social medias. There's nothing on there that says that.
I'm on the team. I'm just trying to find out.
I've never seen anything like that. If there was a interview, what interview? I point me in a direction. I'll go look for it. I don't need to know where exactly, but just show me a roundabout. I'll go look for it. I'll go
Only
back
thing
and
I can
research it.
say is that Round for Round said they might do a Kickstarter if needed. If needed.
Um, Back in the early days, they did say they were going to do a Kickstarter or and
Yeah.
or crowdfunding. They did say that, and I can point you to uh, that one guy BTMW or whatever his name is. He did. There's a couple interviews. There's not very many. There's a couple interviews with uh, that guy from that channel and
Mm,
Jamie, and then there's another interview with Jamie or the guy that runs the channel, Jamie, a guy the guy Alan, and Malky. I've went back and listened to all their stuff
mm.
because I had some time and I was like, yo, I'm not gonna sit there. I'm not gonna sit here and pump up a game where I don't have all the information. And I went back and got all the information. That's why. That's why my. I'm gonna say this again. I had confidence in them because I seen more out of them. For meaning, I seen character models. Some of them were horrible. Some of them were really horrible. The Zab Judah, trash. Uh, and the other models I seen more coming from them at the time than I seen from Hard Knock Nights. And then I seen a trailer for Hard Knock Nights and it was horrible. And I seen and I called out the animations that they used. And then they try to do some wordplay and say, "Oh, it's hand animated." When I mean, you can technically say hand animation is you slowing down a punch. That can be hand animated, but the base stuff is there. They used 10-year-old motion capture. Not even motion capture. It's just somebody a free animation set. So I lost excitement and consumer uh, uh, thoughts about that game. And now that I'm not seeing anything from round for round, my what do you call it's at zero. So because to have a good game, to have a solid game come out, you're gonna at least need at least 2 years of development time, and that's if you're on top of your game. What do you call it? Some people people say, oh well, Madden comes out every year. Yeah, but how many problems is there with Madden? How many legacy problems there is with Madden? How many how much back how much back talk and strife do they get because they're putting out the same. It's just like Call of Duty. Same thing with 2K. Call of Duty
Yeah, it's the same. They
every year is
already
this.
have the engine.
Yeah, it's the same thing. That's how they can push out a game. But these are companies that are starting basically from scratch almost with animations, player scans, stuff like that. So it's going to take at least 2 years for development time. And these games have only been in development from my research way back from mid 2018. So to expect a super polished, what do you call it, as they're trying to hype up, it's not going to be that. It's going to at best at best it's going to play like that Doug Flutie Maximum Football at best. It'll play either just below or on par as Don King Prize Fighter, and that's not saying much.
And that's what everybody keeps saying. They don't want no Don King prize fighter.
Yep, I'm telling you, it like I said, the player scans are fine. Player scans are good. Player scans are good, but they didn't do the player scans. Somebody else did the player scans. They hired somebody to do the player scans because I just don't see them having a $20,000 machine, especially if they're doing a Kickstarter. And that machine that they use for a scanner is anywhere from $16,000 to $20,000 on up, even higher. It's an Arc 3D scanner, but there's the one that they used is slightly different. It's the lower model, so it would probably be around $18,000 to $16,000. So they had to have hired a company that does it to do the player scans. So I can't give them credit for that. I can't. That's like that's like how they used these animations from Mixamo. I can't give them credit for animations because they didn't do the animations. You can only give credit to something that is created, and they're not creating it. They're just piecing it together. They're not animators. The only thing that you can give them credit for is that I heard is their programming. But Canada Studios, I doubt that they have a 3D scanner. The 3D scanner that they used for scanning the people. That machine, like I said, cost anywhere from 16 to 20 something thousand dollars on up. It's an Arc 3D scanner. They hired it. I'm like 99% positive that they hired somebody to do the 3D scans. That wasn't done in house, unless they want to do some more wordplay and say, oh yeah, I was in house, or they partnered up with a separate company to bring him in. And these are speculations, but if they're doing a Kickstarter, if they're doing a Kickstarter and they have this highly expensive piece of equipment, I would think they would have back more backing than what they're needing to do with Kickstarter. I would I can, I'm let me stop there. I'm gonna stop there, uh, because their Kickstarter will explain why they're doing a Kickstarter. It should, anyways. You say it's in house. I don't. Where have they said that? Like I say, BK, you say you have no relationship with them, but you're saying these things as facts, but you can't point to where they are other than the website. But see, that goes back to the bad messaging. Why there's all these different websites and there's no links to the websites to go to that website. It's a horrible marketing, bad messaging. But that's all I got. That's all I got. That we went this things 3 hours 10 minutes. So uh, I want to be proven wrong, and if they want the confidence of if any team that's making a boxing game, if they want the confidence, the consumer confidence, and they want consumers to back it, they would have to listen and put features in that the consumers want. Right, but BK, I'm not saying you're an index, but if you're quoting something, if you're saying that, oh, it's in house, it's this, it's that, try to have a reference, man. Try to have say, oh, during this live stream or around this time, around some kind of month. I can tell you uh when they said when they said why they delayed it, and it was during around June, May or June, is why they said they delayed the game because there was disputes of the cover athlete, and why they and then there was a graphical update, and then they have disputes, and that was holding things up. That's what they said on the live stream. Uh, they also said that um, August 2nd we were supposed to get a trailer. That didn't happen till August 11th, I believe, 11th or 12th. So I'm positive. I'm positive. Completely positive. You're taking it as negativity because, like I said, you have a friendship bias with somebody that's involved with the game. I have no biases at all. I
Yeah, and I don't try to take up for round. I let you say what you want to say, and I don't interrupt you because hey,
I'm speaking for
that's
me.
how you see it.
Yeah, I'm speaking for me. And if you can't see, like, I'm not trying to make I'm not making anything up. I can pull what they said and when they said it, and I pulled what they said and when they've said it. I did a video on Twitch with it. Yeah, but for that to happen, if they did it for a Unreal Engine, that's not true because there was games that came out on older Unreal updates that still look good. That and they were talking about a huge graphical upgrade. Um, there hasn't been a huge graphical upgrade in years. In years, man. It's been a small upgrade.
But from me talking to the industry, you can't blame the engine. It's the artwork and the person that do the animations. It's not the engine.
It, it's
Cause you
it's
could
it's not the tool. It's the people using the tool.
yeah. I
And
heard that you could go on LinkedIn and talk to these guys. I got actual um conversations I had with developers and people in the industry. It's not the engine. It's the people that's working with the engine.
because I can graphical updates, CryEngine. Yes, it's a different engine than Unreal. CryEngine. There's they're barely catching up to what's the game called? Uh oh man. Um CryEngine made the game. Man. And it was and it was like beautiful, beautiful game. What is that game called, man? Uh what is that game called?
Yeah, it's some. I see some
Crisis.
great.
Crisis. Crisis.
Oh
Crisis.
yeah,
Crisis. Crisis was done like in 2012, 2013, something. Nah, before that, 2008. And
Dad,
computers,
I can't believe I didn't know that because I used to play that game to death.
yeah, and computers are still struggling to run that game. And I'm talking about high-end computers, still struggling to get 60 frames a second. Because that's a big thing in the PC world is like it's always a meme. Can it run Crisis? Can it run? And I'm not talking about Crisis 2 or 3. I'm talking about Crisis 1.
Yeah,
And there's been a lot of Unreal Engine games that look amazing, and and that goes back to the people knowing the tools.
exactly.
So I just I can't buy that. I just can't. Now, if you want to take it, that's you. That if you want to believe that that's the reason, I just can't believe that's the reason. Now with graphical with Unreal updates, the engine updates and Unity updates and stuff like that, yeah, they have better physics and stuff like that, but you have to know how to use them. It's not just it's not just because you have it there, you know how to do it. You actually have to have the knowledge, and it's not looking like the skill is there. But I want to be wrong. I really do. I want to be 100% completely wrong. I seriously, no joke, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. I seriously want to do a video and say, I was completely wrong. This game is amazing. And and I want the whole industry to say that too. I want it to be a unanimous decision that this is the best boxing game. They delivered exactly what they said. But from my experience, when people get to talking, people try to hype things up. They don't deliver what they say. Because if you look at, I'm gonna give you BK. Go look at um, the E3 Tom Clancy's Division uh, announcement trailer versus the retail copy. Take a look at that and you'll see why there's a lack of confidence. But with that said, guys, we're done. I'm out. Poe, you got any last things?
Nah, just that. Best believe I'm a boxing fan before anything, and that's what I want in the game. I don't have no personal things against any boxing game. I just want all of them to be successful. Even
Yeah,
if EA come back out with another game,
I
I
have no
just want a great boxing game.
I have no personal bias. I want a good boxing game. I want to be proven wrong. I'm nobody to be proven wrong, but I still want to come out and say I was completely wrong, and the industry loves the
Yeah,
game. I still want to come out and say that. I don't want to say, oh well, there's updates and this and this. No, no. I want it to knock it out the park. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
But I want to be wrong. With that said, Wednesday we'll be back at it, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me. And uh, on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing a recap, and we'll be also on Wednesday. We'll be talking about more about this dehydration and stuff like that. The problem that's plaguing boxing, people losing lives. So have a good day. Peace out. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.